Arger Agent Philosophy is saying that they got muted. Philosophist, I'm sorry, I'm butchering.
Oh yeah, I server mute. Sorry, I server mute them because I was getting the. Sorry, I had to mute you because I could hear Billy clearly.
There we go.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Okay. That fixed it.
So, if any other problems occur, just tell me. I'll go bother my tech friend Gospel, and he'll help.
I think Zing was pretty,
Yeah, I'm just saying in general. If there's stuff that's like where we have no clue, just poke me. I'll go get him.
Thank you.
Okay. I am the IT.
Yes. Okay. So, as mediator, what I'm going to request right now is that everybody mutes for intro stuff, and we go down the list. Now, if anyone needs to interject, I would say put it in the chat, and I will unmute and be like, "Hey, somebody would like to add something to your piece." That way, if somebody has something that they really, really want to say, now, warning, I will request that it's very, very important. Like, it's like this has to be included. Oh my God. Instead of just, I want to say this piece. So, while we start, I would request that everybody...
it's working.
Yep, it's working. Okay,
awesome.
And hi everyone, I'm Billy, and I am not a white guy. And
thank God.
Thank God. No, I'm kidding. So today this panel is going to be a little bit more serious than it was on our second panel. We're going to discuss a lot of sensitive topics. So, and I am not going to be talking as much because I am on a great team and they've done a lot of research to present these topics that I'm going to find interesting. So I'm more or less on the sidelines with you guys this time. So... we're going to start with, let's see. Who are we starting with, guys? You can unmute to tell me.
I think it's Ginger. Ginger goes first.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be Ginger.
Ginger?
Yeah, let's just start going down the list. Do we want to do introductions again for newcomers?
Yeah. Okay.
Then I would say we do introductions down the stream list.
Okay.
And we'll start with Ginger being the first one on the list, but and when she's done, we'll just move down and down and down until everybody is set.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah, that
yep,
works.
so everybody go back to mute while Ginger does her piece.
Real quick, are we just doing introductions at the moment, or are we starting our pieces?
Introductions, and then we will start with the pieces. Well, after the last person does their introduction, we will say, okay, now we will be moving into the discussion period. So the last person who goes will say, okay, we're moving into discussion period, and then go to Ginger. Okay, so everybody go back to mute so we can do introductions.
And I guess I'll say the disclaimer at that time, but hi everyone, I'm Ginger.
Okay, I ended this.
Oh.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, did you end that stream, Billy?
I ended the last one. This is the new one, right?
Okay, sorry.
I think they just want a link.
Oh, okay. So, but hey everybody, I'm Ginger.
New one, right?
Okay, there we go.
They just want a link. Okay. So, but hey everybody, I'm Ginger.
New one, right?
Okay, there we go.
They just want a link. Okay.
Pause. We're having feedback. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Quick thing before we start. Sorry again, Ginger. Billy, I think people want a link to the video in the Discord. All right, and we're going back in. Bye.
But yeah, I'm Ginger. There will be an image up in a little bit, and I will be the red-headed woman with a green shirt sitting next to Billy. And I'll go ahead and mute so the next person can introduce themselves.
Who's next on the list? Lord G is currently on BRB, so we are going to move on to the person afterwards, and
That's me.
And then we'll fit Lord G in after. Okay, continue.
Okay, so I'm Lorna Toon on Twitter, but on Tumblr I'm Vox Volpina. And in the image that Billy will load in a short while, I'm the girl sitting next to Billy in a schoolgirl uniform. I actually wanted a Sukaban uniform, but that was impossible. So anyway, that's me. Next.
That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello, I'm Grandmaster G, and on the picture that will be up.
It's up now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's up now?
Yeah.
I can't. Okay, here it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm Grandmaster G, and I am the one in the far right, the black girl with the white hair, looking stylish.
Hey. Next.
All right. Next is
Next.
Zingstor. Zingstor, it's your turn.
Sorry. What's up, y'all? I'm Zing Story. I'm the Orochimaru. I no longer have a dump truck. Sorry.
No dump truck for you. no
right.
dump truck behinds.
Unfortunately, Leafy the Wolf cannot be with us during this time. We are hoping that they will return
Unfortunately,
later on. Holy, that echo, my bad. Anyway, I am Twee. I am the better-looking Statue of Liberty. And we'll be moving on to Lordy Maru and going now.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am Lordy. I am sitting next to Zingstor, and I am like the first time a hotter version of Seishimaru.
Still hotter, way hotter.
Still hotter. Look at my legs.
Still. Is that all?
And we will be moving to our guest speakers. We will start with the Eternal since you've already come up, and then we will move on afterwards to Argentum. I'm sorry, I am butchering names terribly.
Argentum Philosophus.
Yes, sorry, Argentum Philosophus. My apologies. So we'll be moving to Eternal Passions first, and then you, and then we will move on to any others that may or may not be joining right now, according to general chat. I'm not sure, so let's continue.
Okay. My name is Eternal Passions. That's my username on my platforms on Twitter and Tumblr. I just joined the Inuyasha fandom, and I just like to say that I'm not Billy.
We're not the same person.
Yeah,
right?
Me and Billy aren't the same person,
No,
and
you're not.
I'm not a white guy either. So yeah, and I just want to say that I'm glad to be here, glad to be discussing with you guys, and thank you.
They're going to say, I hired you to say that. Is that everybody?
No, we have Argentum.
Oh, go. Yes, go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Argentum Philosophus on most platforms, including Discord. But on Twitter, I am a role player under the name Tenno Yuri. I roleplay as Sango, and I'm honored to be a part of the stream tonight. Or today. Whatever time it is for you.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the Sango plushie on the table.
Okay, we will be now requesting all speakers be muted while
I
we
didn't
move
get
on
to introduce myself.
Oh, you're Billy, like everyone knows you. But
Yeah,
anyway, let's go to the grand wonder themselves, Billy.
I'm out.
Next. Okay, so let's get into our first topic.
Okay, so first I would like to read our disclaimer. Billy, if you don't mind putting that image up.
Yeah.
That has our disclaimer.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
So, warning. Mature content and potentially triggering topics discussed from this point forward, including online harassment, suicide, grooming, and pedophilia. Adult viewership only. Viewer discretion is advised. And also to note, this is not part of the disclaimer, but we do want to know we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the stream. So if you do have questions for us, do be sure to stick around for the end of our stream. With that said, Billy, you can go ahead and put the picture of us back up. And I will go ahead and start off with my segment. I will be talking about how fiction affects reality, because one of the common arguments in regards to the toxic ship is that it's just fiction, and that fiction can't affect reality. However, fiction can and does affect reality, with sometimes up to deadly ramifications. I'll start with a piece of comparable media, another series that normalized and romanticized a toxic relationship with a major power imbalance where there is grooming and sexual abuse. It is the 50 Shades of Grey series by E.L. James. Now, I know Anastasia was of age, but the grooming still applies here because he used a step-by-step process of a cult to get her where he wanted her to be by the end of the series. Now, if you question this, you can actually look up film theory and go to Matt Pat's video, The Cult of Christian Grey, where he goes into depth on how this works. So, how this story affected reality can be found in psychological studies by the Journal of Women's Health, who claim that women who read this book were more likely to repeat the behaviors of those in abusive relationships. In the study of over 600 women, they found that women who read the book were 25% more likely to have a partner who cursed and yelled at them. 34% were more likely to have partners who stalk them or have stalker tendencies, and are 75% more likely to have fasted for more than 24 hours or used unsafe dietary pills. And even worse, women who read all three were far more likely to binge drink and have multiple partners, both of which are recognized risk factors for partner violence. Now, the study isn't sure if the behavior started before or after they read these books. However, the books either did bring on these behaviors or reinforced them to continue. This is backed by more research from the U.S. National Library of Medicine that the more such images and ideas are shown in media, the more it is normalized and internalized. Beyond that, the fan fiction turned novel also is responsible for a rise of injuries with adult toys. The movie depicts unsafe acts of BDSM, and those who try it in real life often require hospitalization, according to Huffington Post and even Cosmopolitan. However, more disturbing than that is a rise of something known as the 50 Shades defense. In February of 2020, a man was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of a 21-year-old backpacker named Grace Mullane. According to the murderer, who I won't name, he claimed he initiated 50 Shades style intimacy, and since he was new, it went wrong. Now, his defense failed as there was another one of his victims who spoke out and said she only survived because when he started choking her, she pretended to be dead. CNN even notes that the years before the book came out that murderers would be highly unlikely to claim consent during murders involving sex. But with the romanticization and normalization of violent romance and violent sex, it's now being used and colloquially termed as the 50 Shades defense. It's actually gotten to the point where the UK Parliament is actually trying to outlaw this defense in court. Now, this same CNN article even notes that violent sex gone wrong is becoming a more global issue where these things can happen. Now, on to another example of fiction affecting reality. There is a novel, a very popular novel, called Kuroi Jukai. It's spelled Kuroi Jukai. Now, this is in reference to the White Forest of Japan. It had the protagonists make a suicide pact and go to the White Forest to end their lives. The romanticization of this led to an increase of people going to the forest and ending their own lives to the numbers of 50 to 100 deaths a year, just after the amount of suicide had actually started to drop. Nowadays, the government does not publish how many bodies are found during their annual search through the forest to try to help keep those numbers low again. And to keep the conversation going, I'm going to be covering a really well done post on Tumblr by the Questioning Maiden. And pull that up. Now, in their post, they cover how the show Yashahime normalizes and romanticizes child brides and child grooming with definitions by the Wisconsin Coalition Against Sexual Assault. And now, with the knowledge of how fiction can affect reality, we can see just how terrible this is for it to be in a show aimed at young teenage girls. So, reading directly from the post, Hanyo no Yashahime is normalizing and romanticizing pedophilia. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this link and I'm going to put it in chat so that if our moderators would like, they can actually post this in the chat for people to read. The normalization of violence. It is the acceptance that violence is an immutable part of life, that depictions of violence do not have real-life consequences, and that it is the reality of the victim, not the perpetrator, to prevent violence. The romanticization of violence. Romanticize means to talk about in a way that makes it sound better than it really is, from the Cambridge Dictionary. To romanticize violence is to idealize it and make it look romantic. Romanticization makes you see violence as attractive and desirable. Normalization prevents you from seeing violence by transforming it into something common and normal. Although romanticization is a way in which violence is normalized, here is where Maiden talks about trying to point out some of the things that in Hanyo and Yashahime that they believe fit each concept. The first one, the fact that this series has been created is already part of a normalization process. It's as if they think there's nothing wrong with doing a show where a grown man is raising a child to get her pregnant at 14. As if that background was just normal. 2, they played with the question of who the mother was of the twins, while showing images of adult Sesshomaru and 7-year-old Rin. They didn't care if it was right or wrong that Rin was the mother. The only thing they questioned was whether or not it was her, as if that was something totally normal and not disgusting. Again, that falls under normalization. 3, none of the characters around Sesshomaru and Rin, Kaede, Sango, Kagome, Inuyasha, etc., seem to disapprove that Sesshomaru started a relationship with Rin. No one seems to see anything wrong with this. Normalization. They named this series a fairy tale, which is number 4, romanticization. 5, they showed moments of an established romantic couple, Inuyasha and Kagome, paralleling Sesshomaru and 7-year-old Rin and what they believe to be romantic moments, romanticization. Voice actors continually saying that they like the ship and how excited they were for it, and that Homura's violent behavior, who kidnapped a 13-year-old to make his partner, was love, romanticization. Fiction affects reality, and reality affects fiction. A simple series like this can cause violence to be seen as something good or desirable, or to pass unnoticed. And at the end of the post, they reference the Wisconsin Coalition Against Sexual Assault. And the toolkit for the normalization of violence. It is a PDF. So now with this, we can 100% with certainty say that not only is Yashahime exceedingly problematic, not just for its terrible storytelling, but also for the normalization and romanticization of grooming and abuse to children, with its main ship being an adult male and the child he raised. And that is the end of my sequence. So passing that on to G.
Okay, we will be moving on to our next speaker. After a few words from Billy, and our next speaker will be Grandmaster G, and we will move on after Grandmaster G to Vox Vulpina, and now we defer to Billy.
I just wanted to say that I really did appreciate Ginger. That lesson on how fiction affects reality and how it can lead to something deadly, like the loss of life. And I just enjoyed your examples, just period. That's all I really wanted to say. We can move on.
Okay, now it's to Grandmaster G. If Grandmaster G is available at this time, just let us know. And we'll continue on from there.
Hello, I'm Grandmaster G here. Okay. it is gonna be like kind of nerve-wracking for me, but like I'm gonna try and push through this. If that's okay. Okay, so another important incident that I remember of like fiction affecting reality and all that would have to be, if anybody will remember, the Slender Man stabbing, if anybody knows that. Okay, so for people that don't know, like a blurb rundown of it really is, like, Slender Man was a piece of like this creepypasta, and he was very popular back in the day, and like people were really getting into it a lot. And another thing was, as the stories went on with Slenderman, they had this thing called proxies, which is basically like a group or something or a follower. And like most people would have like been like okay with it. Like a little fandom group, whatever, wouldn't have meant anything. But in like 2014, it kind of gotten like almost deadly. So in May 31st, 2014, in McCauston, I don't know how to say the name, two 12-year-olds lured their best friend into wood and stabbed her 19 times to attempt to become a proxy for Slenderman. Thankfully, she survived, and after that, a whole after that, media were like going like rampant, saying like, "Oh, this is what happens when like children see all that." So in a way, yes, and like what they saw like did in fact affect what happened. And sorry if I'm breaking off, my brother won't be quiet. Okay, back here. Yeah, sorry if I'm breaking off. Yes, in a way, yep, sorry. I'm sorry, cause I'm kind of nervous and like kind of unfocused.
Take your time. You're all good. No worries.
Okay.
You good, G?
Okay. So yeah, one of the big example like fiction affecting reality would have to be this attack that happened in McCauston, because basically everybody knew what the Slenderman was. Slenderman back then was like the thing. Creepypasta was the thing back then. I wasn't a part of it. I knew about it. It scared the crap out of me. And it's like, people would really get into it. They would want to be part of it. And like this example, it nearly killed a girl. Like, then people saying like, oh, like it meant nothing, whatever. Like someone nearly died, and then they made a crappy movie, and that didn't go well. And another example, which happened how many years ago? Like way back then. Was a TV episode, CSI, and like this was like a black mark or something for like furries, cause like I'm in the fandom, and from what I've heard, an episode from the CSI show kind of was used by older people or those that didn't know as an example of saying, oh, these people were degenerates, they're disgusting people and all that stuff. And so because of that, because of that fictional episode, many people viewed those that were in the fandom as crazy, disgusting people that do the undercover boogaloo with their animal suit all night long and do like the hard stuff. Thankfully, that's not exactly true at all. And since then, thankfully, there has been like better representation in media. So like because of the positive stuff that thankfully has been happening, most people don't really see these people and us as like disgusting people. So like, and these people saying like, oh, the fiction does not affect reality. Yes, it does. And they have to like have a better way of like making sure nothing bad happens to it, to the real people, and making sure like, let's make sure we don't have this disgusting thing go about and like harm people in real life. And my mind is drawn a blank, and I am done with my piece.
Okay, thank you so much, Grandmaster G. You did a wonderful job, and we are very happy that you could come. And now we are going to be moving on to Vox Vulpina, and you go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I should probably have gone to the bathroom before this, but I'll make a dash as soon as I'm done. So following up, yeah. I'm sorry. Following up on what Ginger and G talked about, let me just start by saying that it astounds me, like leaves me speechless, when people claim fiction doesn't affect reality, because it's like trying to deny that gravity exists or that the Earth revolves around the sun. It is an utterly ridiculous and like baseless statement to make. And some folks on the Lolicon side of the fandom will be like, oh, I'm majoring in literature, and I can guarantee that fiction doesn't affect reality. I would like to know from these people if they would ever dare to make such a claim in front of, I don't know, their professors or just anywhere on campus, because I'm sure they would get the schooling of their lives. I'm going to say they're perfectly aware that they're lying when they say this, because quite simply, no one is this stupid. Facts and history disprove it. Wasn't Uncle Tom's Cabin banned in the Confederate States because it was anti-slavery? Some people say this book helped lay the groundwork for the Civil War, and that is the power of fiction. It was also banned in Russia because it promoted equality at a time when Russia was still, an absolute monarchy that needed to keep the lower classes in their place. And they didn't want people getting ideas, and so they banned the book because they knew that fiction affects reality. Or let's talk about something a lot more recent. Finding Nemo. National Geographic estimates that the demand for clownfish as pets more than tripled as a direct result of the film, and that millions of clownfish were stolen from their natural habitat to be put in aquariums, to be given to children as pets, to the point that they're not present in the wild anymore in some areas. Like, basically, they went locally extinct in some places. And steps had to be taken before the release of Finding Dory to protect real-life blue tangs from, suffering the same fate as the poor clownfish. That is the extent, to which fiction affects reality. But if you want to know what the most relevant example of fiction affecting reality is in this case, it's the Inuyasha fandom. I mean, if you prefer the Yashahime fandom itself. Like, have you noticed how just discourse within the fandom has changed since the show aired, and especially after episode 15? Like, not only are we getting more and more basically pedophilic content, it's become completely normalized. People don't even bother to put warnings on it anymore. And not just that, but discourse has become virtually indistinguishable from MAP rhetoric. And when I say MAP, I mean minor attracted people. But I'm probably just going to say MAP from now on because it's easier. But an example of this is the sheer amount of people claiming that Rin wanted it, that she's the one who seduced Sesshomaru, that she initiated the sexual relationship, even though we're talking about a 14-year-old girl. Like, this is typical MAP reasoning, where they try and pretend that a child can not only consent to, but actively, initiate and pursue a sexual relationship with an adult. And another MAP belief is that children and adults can be on equal footing. And let me stress this, like, this can never happen under any circumstance. Like, they will insist that 8-year-old Rin was friends with Sesshomaru. So let me just ask, how many 8-year-old friends do you guys have? Mind
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Thank you.
No.
Thank you. What weirdos? Who out here has a 7-year-old friend? Just asking for my 30-year-old friend. But continue, please.
Okay. I want to specify, like, I'm not saying that an adult can't care deeply for and have a friendly relationship with a child. But can you talk to a child about, I don't know, work stuff, about your personal life, about more intimate stuff? Like, would it be right for an adult to lean on a child the way adult friends, lean on each other? It wouldn't. Can the relationship between an adult and a child ever come without that, kind of moral duty to guide and protect the child? No. Like, even if you're walking down the street and you see a child alone, what are you going to do? You're going to take care of them until you can find their parents, or you're going to call the police. You're going to do this for that child, even if you don't know the child, because it's your duty as an adult to step in and look after children. And children and adults can never be on equal footing. The balance of power is intrinsically skewed because of this responsibility that all adults have or should have towards children. And it's dangerous to pretend otherwise. And it is dangerous to pretend that there can be exceptions to this. So if you remember, before episode 15 aired, the Raisins were claiming that they only shipped and would only accept adult Rin. But then the show gave us that timeline that puts Rin at 14 when she got pregnant. Half of them decided to simply ignore it, pretend, like it's not real and we're just making it up. The other half started saying, oh, but it was normal back then. A young teenage girl getting pregnant by an adult man. It's historically accurate. You were interrupted by me sticking your head down the toilet and flushing repeatedly. But, seriously, we've debunked this already. Ginger took this argument apart last Sunday. Child marriage, especially with a peasant girl involved, is not historically accurate for the Warring States, period. So Raisins don't even have that flimsy excuse to hide behind. But regardless, they continue to say that it is historically accurate and continue pushing this pedophilic relationship. And so we find ourselves in a fandom in which, there is a sizable amount of people openly justifying an adult having sex with a 13 or 14-year-old, and they're getting louder and louder about it. Whereas before Yashahime, they used to be ashamed of their ship. So what is happening here? Quite simply, fiction is affecting reality. And as a result of this, the Inuyasha, and Yashahime fandom. I don't know if we want to consider them to be two separate fandoms, but it is being appropriated by lolicons. And lolicons themselves are living proof of the fact that shows and fiction affect reality. Because I'm going to read out a very brief exchange that took place on Twitter. I'm not going to name names clearly, but Raisin number 1 says, remember when Game of Thrones really had people openly shipping incest and pedophilia? And Raisin number 2 replies, Game of Thrones is what made me less ashamed to ship incest every now and then and make people mad because of it. And Raisin 1 says, I mean, yeah, it changed society. So there you have it. Like, basically straight from the horse's mouth. They are not ashamed anymore because this pedo-pushing show makes them feel legitimized. And if you want more proof of fiction affecting reality, just look at the way they react to any criticism or content that does not align with their desired canon. On Mother's Day, a fan artist posted harmless art depicting Kagura as the mother of the twins Toa and Setsuna, and one Raisin tweeted, "This ruined Mother's Day for me." One drawing ruined her day. And they have the bloody cheek to turn around and deny that whole show, a children's show promoting pedophilia, can in fact have a huge impact on young viewers. This is just the level of hypocrisy that we're dealing with. And I'm sorry if this turned into just me venting, but I'm done. And just leaving the spot to the person after me.
Okay, we will be moving to afterwards for Billy, and then we will move to Zing Store and deferring to you, Billy.
I'm just so glad with the examples that you presented when it comes to fiction affecting reality, because I know I sound like a broken record when I say it, but negative depictions of minorities in films have been shown statistically to affect how they are seen in reality. That is why negative depictions of minorities and people from all across the world can affect how they are seen. It's why a lot of people and individuals are upset with American media for depicting certain parts of the world as being a certain way. And it's a lie and it's fiction, but it's affecting the reality of how those people are seen, how people like me are seen. So I just find it complete horseshit when you try to tell me that fiction doesn't affect reality when it just has been proven that it does. It's actually very insulting, to be honest. But that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, we'll be moving to Zing Store, so you go ahead.
All right, what's up? I'm Zing. Okay, so I'm going to be popping off on like a multitude of issues. I wrote an essay. I have no life. Okay, so I'm going to kind of briefly discuss the legality of this stuff because Billy made an oopsie earlier in the week by, I guess, not specifying. It wasn't really an oopsie. And there's this whole debate going on about the legality of it, and the answer is drawn CP doesn't necessarily equate to like actual CP, so at least in the eyes of a judge, and the legality of this entire situation is questionable at best. So depending on the country, the state, or literally anywhere you live is debatable. So, and it also depends on the judge. Some judges will legitimately just like put you in jail and have zero knowledge of it. Some judges will be like, well, it's not that big of a deal. So it kind of depends. So, but at most it might warrant a look into your computer. So if you have drawn CP like lolis, and all that fun jazz, it might warrant a look into your computer, like how they have like warrants for arrest. It might warrant a look into your computer for them to search for actual CP. So, warning, it's kind of that. So, but however, it is very, very much illegal to send sexually explicit images to minors and have it seen by minors. So, and that's what Billy was referring to. And this is currently happening a lot in the Inuyasha fandom. So there are many asks and like many photos being sent to just minors who are politely asking if they could not see this kind of content, and then people are just like, oh, get over it. And then they say to mute themselves, which is not good. And I also am going to do a complete 180, and I want to talk about the current blatant racism in the Inuyasha/Yashahime fandom, and how Japan actually views a lot of lolis and lolicon and pretty much a lot of this stuff. So all of Japan liking this whole thing, because I've seen so many people, oh, the Westerners are just forcing their point of view. Oh, and also, please do not use the phrase colonizing. Westerners are not colonizing Japan. I am a Native American. So if you seriously are going to use that word in front of me, like we're colonizing Japan, please silently just shut up, because you have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. So I already talked about the age of consent in the last stream, which is, technically not 13, but this one I did find out that there is specifically one kind of group of islands called the Okinotori Islands, and that is the only section in which the legal law is 13. They do not have any clauses or anything, so that's that. I feel like I needed to specify. But to all of those people who are like, oh, well, all of Japan's okay with the 13-year-old law. First of all, again, I'm going to ask you why the heck you care. But a lot of university students, so I don't know if you've ever heard of the group Your Voice Matters. So it gathered around 40,000 signatures trying to say that 13 is too low from an international perspective on the age of consent, and trying to move it up from 13 all the way up to 16. So they did try to push for 18 at one point, but they got beaten down by lawmakers. No surprise. So, and this brings me into a kind of deeper point of Lolicon in Japan, and how Japan is very, almost far behind on both women's rights and child rights. So CP was actually legal all the way up until 2014, like actual CP, not just the drawn stuff, but legitimate CP, like children doing, it's not good. So that is a very shocking date. That was only it's 2021, 7 years ago. So most of us were teenagers at the time. So, and even today, there are still laws that a lot of people skirt around. There is one article floating around, like kids, this is disgusting. I hate that I have to say this. Like some parents often take pictures of their children in their bathing suits or in their diapers and sell it to the market, because CP is still defined in Japan as oh god, I'm tearing up. This is so gross. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm triggering myself. So
Take all the time you
and
need.
they tend to post them in lewd positions, and they sell it to a pedophilic market, and it is in fact legal, so which is not good. And I also want to touch briefly upon another phenomenon in Japan known as compensated dating, or enjo kosai, and around 13% are minors who are engaged in it. I'm sure many of you have heard, there's the TV show Rent a Girlfriend, those kinds of things, but this is often a thing. So it's not technically sex work, because sex work is in fact illegal, but most of it is just hanging out with a teenager, and that's how they get away with it. So, and although it's mostly frowned upon by Japanese society, most of the blame is towards the girls who engage in it, as though, it's their fault. For example, there are like many forms of media like talking about it. In Hideki Anno, who's the creator of Evangelion, in his 1998 movie Love and Pop, the main character Hiromi sells her, datingness to get a ring that she really wants, but stops before doing the nasty because her date gives her a lesson as to why she should not do so. And this seems to be a common theme in a lot of the movies produced that are frowning upon it. They often shove the blame on young girls engaging and failing to address the issue in general, that most of the young girls are often poor and trying to work for money to feed themselves, or, are impoverished, and they're just like, oh, well, it's the girl's fault because she engaged in it. So Japan is very sexist in that way, and even today, teachers, monks, government officials, company executives, they have been caught engaging in this behavior. And Japanese laws, regarding rape specifically, like sex crimes involving an incident over somebody 13, so like 13 and older, because 13 is the base law of, consent. The victim must provide proof of violence. They have to sit there in court. They have to argue as to why it was actually violent, as to why, they didn't resist, as to why, and, they have to essentially do all the things that, sometimes they require it here in America. And, you tell me, a 13-year-old versus a government official, who the heck is going to win? What 13-year-old is going to go against a government official and win? So, for those of you who want to argue that, just don't. It's a lot of disgusting crimes have happened in Japan due to this, and it's not fun. So, I also want to briefly touch upon the Me Too movement of Japan, because there has been an ongoing Me Too movement since 2018. So, and a lot of laws have been changed, such as the penetrative law, which requires that all sexual assault is only sexual assault if, the penal area entered the vaginal area. So, but, and it excludes things like, fingers and, a bunch of other nasty shit. There is a law specifically for groping, but it only applies to groping on trains, because that's just a big issue. So, because trains apparently. So, and everybody likes to point out that Japan has it has the lowest freaking assault records, out of all the first world countries, blah 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 blah, which is just false. It has in fact risen 26% and is on continue to rise since the Me Too movement, because not only of the law change, but also just because more and more women are speaking out about this. So I want to cite a notable example, because, we are talking about Yashahime, of all things. So we have found a voice actress named Yurina Hase. So, and she has talked about her experience at Sunrise. If you don't know what Sunrise is, Sunrise are the creators of Yashahime. So, and she experienced what is called a casting couch situation, which is when, she was told to go into, perform sexual acts in favor of, keeping her roles, or to thank the people. So one time she was told to get in springs naked with the director in order to thank him for all the assistance he had given her. So, and, and apparently this has often happened with a lot of other female voice actresses. And, if she talked about it, she was shunned and denied voice acting roles. So this is a common occurrence, both, in Japan and kind of in everywhere, really. But since everybody likes to bring up the Japan argument, I'm just relaying all this to you, because a lot of you are just completely misinformed that Japan is some sort of hail-safe of a country. It's not. So please do your research before you sit there and go, oh, well, because Japanese have the tentacle hentai, they got that low sexual assault rate. Quite frankly, the tentacle hentai has done absolutely nothing. It hasn't really made it worse, hasn't made it better. It's just kind of there. Okay, so I'm gonna pop back and do a whole nother 180 and go to fiction affecting reality. So I'm just gonna kind of do a test right now, because this works with a lot of people. I've noticed that they don't even know fiction affects reality in the weirdest ways possible, because so I'm actually going to use the video game argument. So most people are like, oh yeah, well, I play video games and I'm not a serial killer, blah 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 blah, I'm not a serial killer either. But I am going to tell you this, which is, a bit weird. So, let's say it's the zombie apocalypse. Boom, there's zombies outside your door. Right here, right now, zombies. What the heck are you going to do? Give you a pause to answer that. What are you going to do if there's a zombie outside your door?
I'm going to shoot it in the face.
Your answer was either... chances are you're either Billy or a couple other my friends, just let it bite me and let me die. Y'all just said, just let it kill me, bro. Just let me be a zombie. It's easier that way. Right? So, and okay, that's fair. But how do you know that that's the answer? Right? Like, what happens if zombies aren't maniacal serial killers? You might be like, Zing, you're completely and totally absolutely nuts right now. But I mean, seriously, what happens if they're doing the and it's actually just a different language and we have to somehow interpret it? You know, what happens if they just want a hug? You know, we don't know because we've never seen a zombie. But fiction in and of itself has influenced us to believe that zombies are our natural enemy. It just is. But we've never experienced zombies ever. So how do we know that they are an enemy? Like, it's been so ingrained in our society that zombies are bad. Now, this isn't some sort of weird, like, defend the zombies argument, because, I mean, they don't exist. But I'm just saying that's something that has affected all of us, that our first instinct is, when we see a zombie, is to shoot it. And you can't even deny it anymore. So, I'm also going to pop off on, like, 2 different things, which is the adults' consumption of this kind of sort of messed up content. So, and also children's consumption of this sort of messed up content. And as to why fiction actually does affect reality, rather than just citing examples, I'm kind of going into the brain thing, I guess. You know, why neurologically our brains latch onto this stuff. So, and another simple example is if fiction didn't affect reality, why horny? Why? Why are you horny for an anime character? Just a question. So, now, if you are an adult consuming, you know, drawn, you know, CP, I don't technically know the actual term for it. You know, I mean, some people are just like loli art. I don't particularly know. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I can't speak for all the aunties because they're just gonna, you know, say whatever, but it doesn't matter. I personally am going to say that you are not pietos, that you are not, you know, necessarily evil or horrible people, because consuming problematic content does not equal immediately being problematic. I mean, for the love of God, I ship Orochimaru and Kabuto. If that doesn't check every single list of problematic content ever, I don't know what does. But what most aunties really do have a problem with is, 1, it's being marketed towards kids, and B, it's being romanticized and normalized. So I also want to briefly touch upon the topic of CSA victims consuming this kind of content, and you are adults. So you might use this content to help you, but please understand that it does in fact trigger others. I'm not a therapist, and some studies show that drawing and consuming and writing, you know, either rape fan fiction or whatever, does help people, and there are some studies that show that it doesn't help you. So I have no right to tell you whether or not it does or does not, but I highly recommend that you do see a therapist if you are a CSA victim consuming this form of content, because it might not help you and it might actually make you worse. So there is a study proving that, and you technically won't be able to really know if it's helping you or not without the aid of a therapist. So if you're using it to help you and you haven't seen a therapist yet, please do so. So, and there's another phenomenon that I'm noticing is CSA victims often telling other CSA victims that they should use, you know, these drawn images to help them, and which is just mean. So I'm going to kind of give an example. So I have 3 friends who are like afraid of slamming doors, 2 of which are associated with trauma, and the other one who's just afraid of Detective Conan for some reason. Don't ask me why. So I have one friend who intentionally, like, she runs around slamming all the doors in her house. I mean, she actually broke a door once. It's kind of funny, and she's like nuts, right? But it was associated with her trauma, and her therapist did in fact tell her, you know, try to slam it, you know, to get rid of all this, you know, built up tension. So she's running around slamming it, right? And then I have another friend who, you know, is like, hey, if you guys could not slam doors around me, it associates with my trauma. And she tells everybody this when we go visit her. And we're like, yeah. And she's just like, hey, you slammed the door if we accidentally do it. So we're all cool. But if I invited, the friend who slams doors like a maniac around the friend who asked us not to slam doors, and that slamming door person was like, ding, 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 and was just like, it's helping you, isn't it? You better make it help you. It helps me. I mean, you'd say that person is a dick, right? I'm assuming you'd say that's a dick. So, don't do the same thing in fandom, please. Just don't. So, now I am going to say this. Adult brains are the only ones developed enough to tell fiction from reality. Big difference. Tell fiction. Like, we can actually sit there and go, yep, what's happening in here is fiction, and what's happening in here is reality. So technically, this applies to adult brains, usually about, like, I say adult brains, but technically around like 16 is about when you start being able to tell it a bit more. But that doesn't mean you are not affected to it until you're still affected regardless. So, but this is if and only if we can point to certain things being wrong and or immoral. So, which I have seen many shippers in this fandom have a difficult time doing. I have seen countless arguments, as Vox Populnia has often stated, on why certain relationships are healthy. I mean, Sesshomaru and Rin, since this is technically an anti-live stream, their relationship isn't healthy. I mean, we Vanties have beaten this into the ground, so I won't repeat all of the arguments made that we antis often make, because I'm tired of it. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, but I'm going to repeat the arguments that I've seen shippers use. So, she wanted it. She chose him. She stayed with him above all others. Teenagers aren't stupid, and they know what they are doing. She's a queen who seduced him when she got older. So tell me, what do these arguments have in common? These are the exact same sentiments argued in real life against victims of abuse. Shippers themselves are blurring the lines between fiction and reality because you insist on calling this a healthy relationship. You cannot physically identify the difference between a non-healthy relationship and a healthy relationship. If you could do that, you would be able to identify it in fiction and not be able to get so upset when people say it's an unhealthy relationship. Again, I ship Orochimaru and Kabuto. I have been called a Pieto. I have been called a map. I have been called a bunch of other things because of the ship. And I don't really get angry about it because I recognize that it is, in fact, an unhealthy relationship. And I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, well, they're actually in this healthy relationship, because they're not. So, and if you continue this, if you continue saying it's a healthy relationship, your brain literally cannot distinguish the fact that you view a healthy relationship as fiction and a non-healthy relationship in real life. And you will echo these sentiments against real life victims. So, and that's a problem. So again, this content isn't going to turn you into a pedo, but it makes you unable to recognize your own behavior in regards to real life victims, which is a problem. So again, and other antis have problematic ships of our own. I mean, some people have pointed it out. There's like, the Anakin, Padme shippers. I mean, there are the Daenerys and Khal Drogo shippers. There's the Naraku and Kikyo shippers. I could go on and on. I mean, there's literally so many ships. I mean, I know I just saw a Raylo shipper today. I mean, I think the only difference is all of us antis know that most of these aren't healthy relationships. And we just are like, okay, it's not a healthy relationship. So we can identify it, and we don't perpetuate that ideology onto other victims in real life. Because we go, yeah, we might ship something that's messed up, but we're okay. We're not bad people, but we're okay. And you're not a bad person either for liking messed up stuff. You're just bad for promoting it as healthy. So, and again, it's not this ship, and it's not just fandom. So there are many television shows that promote this type of relationship, so that are also marketed towards children specifically. I mean, like Vampire Diaries, Teen Wolf, Gossip Girl, Usagi Drop, almost the entirety of the shoujo genre in general. So, And as a lot of shippers like to know, even old Disney, I'm saying old Disney because newer Disney movies do not have these kinds of things anymore. Everybody likes to bring up Snow White. Sorry, I wasn't born 50 years ago. I couldn't sit there and go, hey, maybe this is wrong. I was not even born yet. My mom was born, but she was like a toddler. Anyways. So, and quite frankly, no one has the time to speak out against all of these, like every single problematic ship ever. So it's kind of up to people in individual fandoms to speak up. And I happen to be in the Yashahime fandom or the Inuyasha fandom. So yeah, I am going to speak up about this ship because it's a specific fandom that I care about. There's nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, we'd have nobody speaking up about it. So now we hear the word normalization a lot, but I see a lot of people, kind of fail to define it. So, well, simply put, it makes people think that something is normal and therefore shouldn't be an issue to address at all. So, for example, I do apologize in advance for playing to Black Pain. So, slavery was normal in the 1800s. Doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean it's okay. And today, the sexualization of children is so normal that we don't even think about it. We don't think about why we have a lot of high schoolers in just, high school movies, albeit played by a 25-year-old person, having like sex scenes in PG-13 movies. It doesn't even occur to us. We're just like, whoa, high schoolers do that, and it's like, well, yeah, they do, but not as often as you think. So, or why most ecchis and henties, barely have adult women. They usually have high school girls doing it. And like, you could literally change the plot of ecchi and hentai to be 18 and put them in a private university, and it would change nothing about the story. It would change nothing, but instead we have them being underage. I mean, look, I watch a lot of the hentai myself, so I am not completely absolved of all guilt. But it's like, why exactly are all of these high schoolers or middle schoolers? Like, we don't even really question it these days. And it's gotten so bad that Cuties, that movie that everybody was kind of concerned about, is still freaking on Netflix, and people defend it. People are like, oh yeah, Cuties addresses the sexualization of minors, and I'm like, it's literal CP. Like, people defend it. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, to the adults, please understand that you are contributing to the normalization of this content by defending it. You're also contributing to the romanticization. So the romanticization is essentially, you're making it seem as something to strive for, as something that is, hashtag relationship goals. Please stop. Because I am going to kind of go into why this does affect real life children right now. Okay. So, now I hear the argument of, well, help real life minors. Stop spending your time on fandom. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I get it. I feel like people kind of forget that there are minors in fandom and they are affected by the media that they consume. And that means all media, including fandom media. So, I mean, how many of you viewers and actually, how many of you, just in general, thought it was cool when you were like a teen, preteen, to get together with somebody who was like twice your age? Come on, raise your hand. Me too. I thought it was cool. I was just like, I want to date a 20-year-old, and I was like 13 years old. So, and this reflected in a lot of the things that I shipped when I was younger. I mean, I shipped sessrin, egads. I know. I shipped it when I was a kid because I was attracted to Sesshomaru. Shocking. I shipped Kakashi and Sakura because I was attracted to Kakashi. I shipped Pidge and Lotor from Voltron. Yeah. I also shipped freaking Himari and Sanetoshi from Penguin Drum. Shoutouts if you know that anime. Nobody knows it. So, and I used to even get all huffy on Tumblr and DeviantArt and, all those things because I would sit there and type away at my keyboard going, this is healthy. I don't know what you're talking about. All of you filthy aunties. I used to be on your side. Like, pretty much all the way up until I was almost like 16, 17. I don't remember. I was youth. So, and truthfully, it was because of all the media I consumed never told me anything different. I mean, every show, Disney, The Labyrinth, Sailor Moon, and also fandom itself contributed to most of my ideology. I mean, most of us were kids at the time defending this, and a lot of people are now CSA victims because we thought back then sexualized attention from adults was healthy. So aunties, like I am today, were portrayed often as bitter women who can't get laid, which we're still very much portrayed as. So we're portrayed as, evil, and even then we're portrayed as evil in like many shows, like moms who are concerned for their daughters or their sons are now just abusive mothers who don't understand love or their relationship. I mean, there's like lots of anime where literal teen boys and like really young teens, like 12-year-olds, are shown losing their V card to a cougar, and it was just cool. So, and you might be asking, okay, well, why did all of this even affect us as kids? I mean, it was normalized and romanticized because our brains weren't developed. Again, I'm sure you've heard all of that before. Our brains aren't developed till 25, plus or minus a year or so. What the heck does that even mean? So, frontal lobe, amygdala, blah, 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 science words. So, I'm an engineer, so I'm pretty good at translating big, fat science words that make no sense into English. So, I'm going to start off. So, kids aren't dumb. We all know this. So, like, some kids can take college. I mean, some kids can, do giant math equations that I can't even do. So, but that's just more of an accumulation of knowledge and not necessarily an indication of their brains or their maturity. So how do I phrase this? So kids like to put things in boxes. The stupid little, circle goes in circle, star goes in star, square goes in square. That's kind of how we were taught. So, and most brains tend to work that way. So kids, when we are younger, tend to put things in boxes of both good and evil. There's only good and bad actions. There is very little room for morality, like kind of the gray sections until you get older. There's a reason why most kids shows, at least when we were younger, had a good guy versus a bad guy. We didn't have like complicated things like anti-heroes or tragic villains. At most, the complicated it gets for kids is the bad guy is now good guy because he did a good thing. I mainly Zuko from Avatar because I know somebody might bring that up. So our concept of right and wrong becomes increasingly more blurred as we get older. Take, for example, like the trolley problem, the kill one to save 1,000, would you do it mentality. A lot of us don't particularly have the answer to that question when we're kids, Kids really can't answer these questions. They will either just say, killing is bad and you shouldn't kill people, or if they were taught by adults, by what the good path is, because most of us will agree, just kill one person, or some people would just be like, just kill 1,000 people. So, now you might be like, okay, but those are like children, but, and like, we want to talk about teenagers because Yashahime is rated for, 14-year-olds, blah, 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 blah. So, and I'm sure some of you might have heard that some brains develop fully at 16 or our primary years of development or before 4 years old, so therefore we're not affected by anything. That is false. So I'm a do you and educate. I have learned most of this through actually like teenage alcoholics. Shout out to teenage alcoholics. It's only thanks to you that a lot of studies were done on the teenage brain. Don't be an alcoholic. Shout out to you. So I'm a do you and educate. The thing with teen brains is they're still developing, slower than that of primary years. And the main part that is still developing is the frontal lobe and specifically the prefrontal cortex. So I'm sure you've heard of it, and it's the very last region of the brain to fully mature. This area is responsible for things like planning, prioritizing, and controlling impulses. And the prefrontal cortex also helps you relate to other people, socially, how you form relationships and other things. So, technically your brain is at the correct size at like 8 or something. So that's why some people are like, well, their brains were fully developed. Yes, your brains are large, are the size that they're going to be for a while. But anyways, so the main point is that it's kind of, I wish I could show a graph, but I'm not in charge. And plus, most of you don't probably understand graphs, or some of you do. I don't know if you do. But anyways, brain development gets slower and slower as you age. That's why scientists are okay with 21 being the legal drinking age and 18 being the age of consent. 18 is a bit of an arbitrary number from way back when, but scientists don't particularly argue it too much. But with teen brains, all the way up until around 25, our brains are under construction, so to put. So to define that, our brains at that time, from puberty onward, or pre-puberty, most people cite 12 to 11. Teen brains are often forming connections between different parts of the brain, for example, just to make thinking easier. So we start associating certain things with good, bad, and morally gray. And we end up having more and more paths as we go on. So I'm sure, and we also have a tendency to go, which is the more correct thing to do? I'm sure we kind of remember all those questions on our SATs and ACTs, the more correct thing. So, and most of these connections that our brains are making between what is good and what is bad are formed through social experiences and media. So this is just, you can literally just pop into any scientific article ever and it will tell you this. So what happens if you surround yourself as a teen with people in fandom and media telling you an adult in a relationship with someone your age is normal? You're going to think it's normal in your teen years. Teens, kids are most susceptible to media, and specifically fandom, more so than adults. If your peers and friends and your favorite TV shows tell you that, this messed up thing is good, and, adults in relationships with minors, and the antis, so to put, are bad, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe your friends. So teens do not possess the ability to consume pedophilic, abusive content that isn't good and defend it. They can't defend it without their brain forming the connection that content and the way of viewing that is good. They literally can't. It's just unscientific. So, you can technically break and restructure this connection when your brain is still under development. So if you are still under the age of 25 and you currently believe that this stuff is good, and maybe somehow we antis might have changed your mind, you can now reassociate it with the thing being bad. When you're an adult, you can only break this connection, but you can't associate what you once viewed as good as now bad. So this forms a cognitive bias. So it's not necessarily saying, well, once you're a jerk, you're always a jerk. It's kind of just more like, that's kind of why adults have a hard time accepting that they're wrong, because they were taught that way for most of their life. They can still have, still perform or acknowledge that their actions are wrong because they've cut the connections, but they can't necessarily associate it with wrongness, if that makes sense. So, and again, back at the adults, this is directly affecting minors in the fandom. When you defend shit in media that is pedophilic, especially when it's shown in kids shows, you are responsible as an adult to tell minors that these kinds of relationships aren't healthy. And don't tell kids they shouldn't be interacting with fandom, or they should have a mute on a block, especially when the fandom and the show is targeted towards their age group. Yashahime is rated for TV 14. That means 14-year-olds and up. They are minors. teens and children all develop socially. So yeah, social connections in fandom are affecting them. And if they're associating, with the shippers who are just like, oh yes, getting into a relationship with a minor, even though it's in fiction, is completely, totally normal, teens will fundamentally believe that it's normal to have an adult view them in a sexual light. Because that's what I thought as a teen. Because I like this stuff. So, and you know what? I even remember when Antis, we were like way back when, we were trying to change the rating of Yashahime to TVMA for mature adults instead of TV-14. Granted, we got told to just, fuck off by all the companies. But if Yashahime and Inuyasha is meant to be enjoyed by adults, you would agree if you're a shipper. Because fundamentally, Rin and Sesshomaru's relationship isn't healthy and shouldn't be portrayed as such, especially to young audiences. You would agree that it should be TVMA. Why are you mad at us for wanting it to be TVMA? You shouldn't be celebrating that we got told to fuck off by companies. You should agree with us. So, and even if you specifically aren't a CSA victim or didn't view it as healthy, I'm going to prove to you that most of you knew at least one person in high school or middle school that was in a relationship, quote unquote, with someone who was an adult. I did. I thought she was cool. Heck, I knew like 5 people. I was jealous at the time because I thought they were the coolest and hottest shit because they got attention from somebody who was 25. They were 15. Now, as an adult, I'm just like, wow, that was super messed up. And I'm glad that I didn't have any of all these things. And you know what? All of my friends who had those kinds of relationships, they engaged in fandom. They shipped all these kinds of things. And they thought it was healthy because they listened to shippers like you who are saying that that Sesshomaru and Rin is healthy. It might be one fandom, it might be one show, but you're echoing these arguments and it's affecting real kids. Ratings exist for a reason, so at least at the very least, tag your stuff as 18 plus, NSFW, minors do not interact. I know it won't stop a lot of minors from consuming this content, but it's at least a start. So, and again, I don't care what you ship. I'm just as guilty. But for the love of sanity, just stop telling people it's healthy, because you are influencing real life minors. I've said this like 20 times, but I'm going to just say it again. And if you're a minor or a teen watching this stream, even though you might have ignored the thing at the beginning, so most of us antis aren't talking from a place of judgment, but rather experience. We've seen ourselves, a lot of antis are CSA victims. We've seen our peers, and we've seen our friends become CSA victims who are a part of fandom, who are a part of loving this kind of stuff, and genuinely held dear on to a lot of this thing. You're fine if you enjoy this content, but if you're, again, a child, please be very wary of any adult telling you that this content is healthy. It's not. And that's my piece. I'm muting.
That was a great piece by Zigster, and we're going to have closing words by Billy, of course. And then we'll be moving on to...
Am I even on?
Yes, you are.
You're on.
Anybody?
There's not really anything I can add after that. That was stirring and that was great. I can't add anything after that.
Hello?
I think Zig can't hear anybody. Can somebody let them... No, we do hear you.
I just did.
Okay.
Yes.
Who's next? I feel kind of like I'm in this... I just did this whole last emotional piece.
Like you did the whole thing and you were muted, possibly. No, we can hear you.
Unmute yourselves. I feel really awkward right now.
Okay.
So that was a great piece, and we're moving on to me. I'm next, and I'm going to be starting with.
Okay, cool. I'm going to be.
Anyway, I'm going to be starting with how real-life examples of how grooming can be developed and certain predators who have already been caught. Now, all of these are examples that are done within the hobby space, so nobody can be like, oh, well, that happened to this kind of person, instead of, yeah, this is in a hobby space. I'll be starting with a developing case, which is that of Twitch currently, with what is commonly referred to as the hot tub meta. Pretty much this is where women are, I'm just gonna all out say it, objectifying themselves for porn addicted men. And many of these young women have their OnlyPans via a link tree in their profiles. So they are more or less using this as promotional value to get these people, these men, to go to their more lewd sites and whatnot. Now, Twitch recently, as of Friday, went about and said, oh, well, guys, it's not actually sexual suggestive. It's just sexy. Now, Twitch is completely and utterly ignoring that this is, in fact, the definition of sexy. It's sexually suggestive. So they said that they are opening, and it is live now. They have a new category called pools, beaches, and hot tubs, where advertisers do not have any ads on it because of one of the biggest streamer on it, Amaranth. She was demonetized via ads. She still gets money via bits and subs. And advertisers were like, yeah, we don't really want our product associated with this person. Now, instead of Twitch recognizing that, hey, look, this is actually just straight up softcore porn being advertised on a website, which Statista has already done a graph of, and that is as much as 38% of all Twitch app users in the US last year, so 2020, were aged between 10 and 19. So there is a huge crossover between porn addicted men and young children interacting in the same shared space on a website in which you are not only allowed to host a live stream as a young individual, but also interact. And now it's now Twitch has pretty much all but said, oh, well, we make money off of it, so who cares? They are going to care when the federal government goes, hi, FBI, open up. Much like they did on YouTube, because YouTube wanted to ignore their growing issue of child grooming, child exploitation on their website until the federal government of the United States stepped in and was like, yeah, you're going to have to shut that down now. Now, the problem is that YouTube really hasn't really done anything. Like, those videos are still out there, and it has contributed to a lot of children being in unsafe environments, having no real way of getting out of it, because YouTube has only locked it via comments. So, you know, if somebody realizes, oh, hey, this is a child, I can go on to their profile and harass them, which is a problem that is cropping up more and more on Twitch, where younger and younger streamers are being told by their viewers to do see how far they will go. One particular stream, I'm not going to name anybody because obviously these are young children, we should not be naming them on a live stream, was told, hey, kiss your friend, oh, adjust your bra strap. They are already grooming these children to view these actions as normal, that it's fine. And the hot tub meta currently is contributing a lot to that, because Twitch is only seeing their bottom dollar rather than the floor that's going to drop out from beneath their bottom dollar. Now, a big case of this is an Australian stripper who said that, I'm not going to lie, it is great, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I try not to think about it too much, but I know a large percentage of my audience are kids and young teenagers. At times, I get this overwhelming sensation of guilt, kind of like the tables have turned, and now I'm the one doing the exploration. However, she has said that she doesn't feel that responsible for it because Twitch allows it. So more or less, a lot of these women are pretty much absolving themselves of guilt for what they are doing and saying, well, Twitch allows it, so therefore it's not my fault. What I mean, Now, the other part of this argument that I'm going to be going into is from the endsexualexploitation.org. It's article about Twitch, Amazon's Twitch rife with sexual harassment, predatory grooming, sexual abuse. Now, a lot of these children are given. Let me see, where was it? Sorry, I have the entire article, so I have to find where it wouldn't let me highlight. Okay, now, like any other social media platform, Twitch requires users to at least be 13 years old before they sign up. However, the only age verification Twitch asks for during the account creation process is a birthday, and easily bypassed age gate, which is true. I'm sure everyone has done it where they're like, oh, I want to read that fan fiction, but the site is asking for my age. Or, oh, I want to play this video game, but Steam is asking for my age. And everybody just puts in an earlier date. In July 2020, investigation of Twitch revealed a number of children demonstrably under the minimum age, including a girl who admitted on camera she was only 11 years old. When reported to Twitch, and only a handful of accounts were removed. The article points out that the real issue is not the young age of the users, but the way adult predators use and abuse platforms like Twitch to have unmitigated access to vulnerable children. Now, Twitch has still yet to develop a set of lockable parental controls for minor accounts, which is which is one of the biggest reasons I wanted to bring up the hot tub meta, because a lot of young men and women, I should just say teenagers, are being desensitized to this. Young women are told, oh, there's nothing wrong with me wearing a bikini sitting on a banana, which is a phallic object, in the middle of a pool, and just casually talking to chat or doing ASMRs that are sexually suggestive. And now Twitch is going to have a very different conversation when that same 14-year-old who sees this and says, oh, well, that's easy money, I can do that, and decides to do her own stream, and then Twitch is now under investigation for child exploitation. Now, when accounts do violate policies, like when one popular streamer did accidentally feature child nudity, they can choose whether to reinstate revenue making or choosing profits over policies. Now, this is a problem because Twitch has bent over backwards for said female streamers in the past, including that of Inalinity, who was shown on camera to abuse her animals and all but admit that she's false flagging other people. Now, this is setting a precedent to the hot tub streamers that, oh, hey, you can bend the rules as far as you want, despite the fact that you have a majority of a young audience, because we do not care. So, another thing, an estimated 65% of Twitch users are male. Now, the problem is a lot of these users are coming in with the hot tub streamers, which is more or less a porn addicted male audience. Twitch needs to either change policies or admit that pools, beaches, and hot tubs is nothing more than a way to try and sate advertisers. So the secondary part that I'm going to be moving on is going to be a Twitch streamer who was actually caught in a sting during an 11-day investigation into human trafficking throughout the metro Atlanta area leading up to the Super Bowl. Now, where is my article? Sorry. I have all my articles, but of course they didn't all go into the proper order because, computers are computers. Now, what I'm going to be bringing up is he was released on bail. Now, he was charged with using a computer service, the Whisper Act, to seduce, solicit, lure, or entice a child to commit an illegal act. Now, he started communing with a person that he thought was a 14-year-old girl. He told that he wanted to meet up for sex and was aware that he was talking to someone who appeared to be an underage girl. So he was very aware there was no, she's just young looking. He wanted to, in his messages, he stated that he wanted to show her some things. that he did not want to use a protection, and he was more or less sexting this person. Now, he was recently, he was not recently, he was released on bail. This was written in 2019, I believe. I don't remember what his sentencing was. However, his Twitch has also been disabled during this time, though Twitch has yet to ever really offer a statement issuing besides we closed the account and then more or less said nothing about it. Now, the reason I wanted to bring up Elvine is because of the game he did play, which is World of Warcraft, which in no way promotes any form of grooming or sexual exploitation of its characters beyond, sexy armor, which if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, you like it. So Blizzard in no way has their game more or less showing women as objectified objects. One of the most powerful women in it is Jaina, who currently is the admiral of her people, and you have the former Horde leader Sylvanas, who is currently aligned with the enemy of the jailer. Now the thing about Elvine that's of interest in the case with such as Yashahime is the characters that he used to play within the game were of the smallest variety, which is the goblin and the gnome character. Now, these characters are proportionate to what would be an adult woman for that size. However, given his predilection toward children, it's very clear that Elvine viewed these as child tunes, which is what you call a character on World of Warcraft. And during his arrest, many were shocked by the emerging details. There were members of the community who had encountered him prior and had said, "We're not surprised." One of them is Dravi. She is mentioned in the article, and she had said, "I'm not remotely shocked about the allegations coming out right now. The person in question had attempted to force me into having relations with him at BlizzCon. The only reason why I got out there was I sent a bunch of messages to people between him taking back my phone away and someone DM'd me back. When I tried to dip out of his hotel room, he basically wouldn't let me politely leave and did everything he could to keep me with him for the night. This was a person who was my friend for 5 years. I'm sickened but not shocked. I'm sad for the children." So I'm going to be moving into a slightly different hobby, which is that of cosplay, and cosplay is not consent and such. Now, this is from July 31st, 2014. Now, this case is special. This was a young girl who was 16 years old and had been found with blunt force trauma outside of a pool at the hotel for one of the hotels of San Diego Comic-Con. Now, she was drunk, and police initially took her status and how she responded, because she was obviously hungover and in pain, as that she had been assaulted because of the blunt force trauma. However, her injuries were that of a fall. She had tried to climb over the gate for the pool and fell down and smacked her head. However, the reason why I'm bringing her up is that she was 16 and she had been in a relationship with 29-year-old photographer Justin Calori. Now, he was charged with sexual contact with a minor and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. However, the reason why I wish to bring up this case is that the young woman had in fact lied about her age. And this speaks to young women being desensitized to the fact that this is inappropriate. This is not okay. And she saw nothing wrong with this. And he said he was friends, and he denied giving her alcohol or having relations with her. However, when she admitted to it, he said, yes, we had relationships. However, she had lied about her age, which in no way excuses his behavior, but it does speak to the young woman's state of mind that she thought that this was an appropriate relationship. Now, the findings do not... given her trauma to her head, did not change the charges to the man who was in a relationship with her. However, they had a physical altercation that was a breakup. over a breakup in which he had used her nickname and he had referred to her their dating thing. Now, his charges are for unlawful intercourse with a minor and contributing to delinquency, as said. Now, the reason she was so desensitized to all of this is her mother, Jill Weir, had pretty much all but excused every bit of her daughter's attitude. And this is something I see very common in sessriners who are parents, and they're saying, well, we're fine with this. We have no problem with this. Neither did her mother. And her mother went out of her way to say, oh, my daughter would not do that. My daughter would not do that. She was belligerent with police. She refused to believe the hotel footage of her daughter climbing over the fence and smacking her head, saying that, oh, the police doctored that. So this young woman is desensitized to this relationship, and she has her own mother enabling her. And this is a huge problem. Just because this man turned out not to be a horrible person, obviously he's bad for having relations with a young woman, but he never assaulted her, he never forced her, she entered in willingly. But just because he was not a monster does not mean that the next man that she would enter in a relationship with wouldn't be, which will bring up a case that I have in South America, where a young woman was invited to, she was 16 at the time, invited to a convention and was attacked by a man. I believe he was 24. There's not a lot on this anymore, as this particular case has been all but buried by a couple of brothers who, in fact, killed their parents and then went to a Comic-Con. Now, this young woman was attacked by this man, forced to have relations with him. He ended up killing her and then threw her body out with a luggage. Now, this young woman was completely and utterly desensitized to this concept. She was aware of the man's age, according to her Discord messages, and she still went through with it. And the reason I wanted to bring up the young woman who was found at San Diego Comic-Con is that that could have been her fate. Now, I'm going to move on to a very recent case, that of what is his name? Andre Tucker, who had the Twitter handle, and he quote unquote owned the business Otaku Studios, and he was well known for a few years for his Lolicon preference and his need to have underage artists draw him lewd art and also have underage voice actors for his lewd characters. He was very open about it. There are many messages between people who were underage at the time who had worked with him, commenting about how he had tried to make them undress for him, and that he would also use their pictures in his promotional material. He would go on to tell a young woman who did voice acting for him when she was 16 that she had one of the sexiest voices he ever heard. He was indicted in the connection with the human trafficking of a 12-year-old girl in Belmont, Texas. This young girl was 12 years old and a runaway. He had solicited her in a act and for money after seeing her ad online, according to police. The people who knew of him only found this out because somebody had hacked into his Twitter and relayed the information. Now, this is why I really hate he's a big reason why I really hate the argument that, oh, well, if somebody's a lolicon, it doesn't mean they're a danger to society. This particular man was very open about his lolicon preferences and that, oh, well, it's just drawn. And he still went out and assaulted a young child. Now, another one that I'm going to be bringing up is another more recent one. This was updated Jan 27, 2021. And some people in chat may know this streamer because he was popular on YouTube before he became more or less a Twitch streamer, and that was Cryotic. Now, he was banned from posting videos after allegations of grooming surfaced over the last few months of 2020. Now, he was a video game commentator, and he had an audience of over 2.6 million. Now, young women are started coming forth and saying, "Hey, I was groomed by him, and he wanted that he started as an innocent friendship, and it was more pushed and pushed and pushed toward a sexual relationship." One such user is Lady Tia Beanie. She wrote that she was 16 years old. She was a fan who became a friend. She said she had just wanted a friendship. He was 22 at the time. She said that he took pieces of her that she will never be able to replace, and she needed to speak out because she could no longer hold on to the hurt that he had given her. He addressed some of the allegations in June of 2020, where he said more or less he apologized for cheating on his girlfriend with people he quote unquote did not realize were underage at the time. However, a few of these people have stepped forth and said, no, we very clearly said that we are underage. He just didn't give a crap. Now, Krautic had actually tried to excuse his actions, saying, I'm not that same person anymore, and I resent that person I was. Now, Krautic was an adult. Again, he was 22 years old at the time when he began grooming these young women. Now, he said he was not asking for forgiveness. He said, I just feel this need to be said before I can finally move on with my life. There were very few instances of him more or less admitting that, hey, look, I did this. I accept responsibility. He very much pushed the blame onto online and saying that, well, it didn't diminish the act. It was all online and I need to move on with my life, which unfortunately for him, the federal government very much disagreed and have actually opened a case against him. The case is ongoing. There's not much on it. It's very hush-hush because of how big of his platform he was. He had interacted with such streamers as PewDiePie, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and had actually done voice acting for a few games that were indie funded and put on Steam. So these cases are all connected to the hobby space. There is no all, but these people are like me. They're nerds like me. They would never do that. No, they would. Twitch has a huge problem currently with predators, and every few months or so, Twitter is always trending with another Twitch streamer or YouTuber who got caught sexting young children. Perhaps one of the biggest cases of this is, in fact, Onision, who now has a Discovery Plus TV show based around what he did. He left his first wife for a 17-year-old girl. He purposely went out of his way to bring these young girls to states in which he could have relations with them via that state's laws, which is a problem within the United States and across the world, where certain provinces have different age of consent. So Onision abused this via the United States. He abused these young women, gaslit them. An infamous case is that of Shiloh, where he had her so stressed out, so underslept, would deny her food, if I recall correctly, because he was vegan and she wanted to eat something different, that she had snapped, and to this day she claims that she still doesn't remember good portions of her life because she had just broken down. Now, instead of taking her to a hospital during her breakdown, he took to filming her. And you can see this on, I believe there's still videos of it on YouTube, unless YouTube has removed them all, where Shiloh is more or less being reverted to a young girl and crying out, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, where is my mother, where is my mother? Now, Onision, instead of giving her any sort of comfort, was just kind of like, oh, it's okay, and continued on with this act until she had calmed down enough to fall asleep. Now, after Shiloh, there was his current spouse, Lainey/Kai. I haven't really kept up on that. I more or less kept up with what was the the girls involved, which was Sarah, Billy, and Regina. I believe these were the three most prominent after Shiloh. Now, Billy was in a relationship supposedly with both Kai and Onision, and when she tried to break it off and leave, Onision gave her cryptic messages saying that she had to do certain things to be forgiven by them. And it actually became a bit of a meme via the people who aren't that are very anti Onision, where it's Kai is crying again because Onision continuously repeated this phrase. Now he said that Billy would have to be chained in the basement to show their apologies to both Kai and Onision. Billy would have to either write or tattoo that they are a liar on their skin, which Billy absolutely refused to do. Onision proceeded to gaslight them, saying that this was all their fault and they should have known better, that they broke the so-called non-disclosure agreement, though. This is definitely not binding. Now, after Billy, Kai had taken in Sarah, who was at the time underage, and in fact, Sarah's parental guardian, which I believe was her mother, had signed guardianship over to Kai, and Sarah was very hesitant in the documentary. I don't think she's actually been shown quite yet, but her story is pretty well known via her live stream with Chris Hansen, where she says that they were very sexual around her, often having sex around their own children. There was a time when they started in the bed where the young boy was sitting watching TV. Or he had fallen asleep watching TV, he had woken up. Kai went to put him to bed, and they immediately started up again. And there were times where they were very sexual around their own children. Sarah said, and she began to become very desensitized to this issue. And over time, when she had become of age, it was almost, she said immediately that her and Onision had engaged in a sexual relationship. Now, after Sarah had left, that was more or less when Chris Hansen had gotten involved, and which is what prompted YouTube to get involved and say, yeah, we're going to demonetize you. Now, Chris Hansen isn't the best of journalists out there. I just want to get that out there because I'm sure that there will be some people who bring up his past or how shady he was during the Onision stuff. But YouTube had refused to do anything about Onision for years, even amongst other big YouTubers talking about how toxic, dangerous, and predatory he was. One of these instances was very early on when Onision would quote-unquote rate his fans' bodies and have them send in pictures, a lot of which were young girls. So those are the cases that I've brought forth that are grooming in real life within hobby spaces, and I hope I was clear enough and such. And we are going to be moving on to Lordy Maru, and after a word from Billy.
Thank you. What we're going to do, the plan is right now to take a little break. We've been at it for almost 2 hours. So we'll come back within, what do you guys want to do? 20 minutes, maybe? And we have to tell them that we are the dynamic duo because you hold my leash. We have to add that part because that's what people think. We have to add that part, Chewy.
Oh, yeah, I just, I did see the comments, but, I'm very much of that person. I gotta get it all out before my brain just farts and goes away.
I get you. I was actually making a joke about the sessriners.
Yeah, so, yeah, we can take a break. I think that would be appropriate, and then we can go back to everybody ending on Lordy Maru, and then back to Ginger, and then to the Q&A. I would say maybe a 15-minute break. Let everybody go to the bathroom, maybe get some snacks.
Let's do about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, too, we can probably rotate going out for snacks, and we can stay and answer questions. Let's do that at like 10-minute intervals. Well, give people 20 minutes. So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I
that's
think
about-
that would be a
to
great.
entertain all of you.
Yes. All right. Break.
Send-
We're
send-
break now.
We're taking
Zing,
questions.
dump request.
Are we taking questions during this intermission, or is this train stop?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that
We
would
can
be
all go
great.
get snacks and so
Question.
forth.
Or
I
dump
would.
request. I
I would. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say something stupid. Go.
I would just say that please keep in mind if you are answering questions, let others speak, and if somebody is speaking, just mute and then come in afterwards.
And you guys can
Great.
also, if you have a question, you can direct who you want to answer the question.
Yep.
So, do any of you lovely people in chat have questions?
If not, I will be taking song requests, as in songs you want me to sing very crappily. Because I'm not a singer, but I'm very funny.
I am one
I
of
think
those
I am.
people, I will sing, and I do not care if I cannot sing at all. Like, full on, just going.
I know.
I do not care.
Er,
Oh goodness.
All right. Let's see. Hold up, I gotta
Sing
Google lyrics because I
Raphael.
don't know lyrics.
Okay, so we have our first question. Will we continue to be active when season 2 comes out? That would actually mean one of us would actually have to watch season 2.
I actually have some teams members.
Maybe.
I think. Yeah, we have team members watching. Not any of us. Well, none of us, right?
I won't. Nope.
Yeah, none of
I
us.
would be.
I'll take one
I
for the
would be
team if I
suffering
have
it.
to.
I might watch too.
No, we might.
I-
It depends.
I
Okay.
am not. I am
So-
not. I have a theory, part of the theory team. My theory team is watching season 2. I am not. So they're going to relay to me things that I need to know. But I refuse
Thank
to
God.
give Yashahime more time. That's the ultimate time waster. That's just me.
I will be suffering it because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I just want to see how far the rabbit hole is going to go.
You like to finish things. That's right. Yeah.
I'm undecided, honestly. I want to know if Kagura is the mother. That's the
Me too.
one thing keeping me like hanging on.
Right. Right.
Like, if it shows that she is the mom, then yeah, I'm gonna watch it. But like, only that episode, cause it is straight up trash.
It is so trash.
Yeah, Kagura being the
so
mother
trash,
isn't going to
man.
make it much better.
It is so trash.
I think
man.
you're gonna
Wait, we
watch
have another
it.
question. We have another legit question.
How
Okay,
can she not be the mother?
Guys,
He
we
literally
have a
looks
question.
just like them.
A kind of
I-
legit question. Let's see. Ruby Mo wants to ask, do any of us know good services to support grooming / pedophilia victims? Any of you recommend, like, or personally use?
I do know
Duh.
that there was, did you know that TikTok link that we had? Remember that with the sources on it?
Mm.
It's a video we posted yesterday inside the Discord. With the,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Do we link it
Yeah.
in the chat?
We can. That particular TikToker lists some very good sources, so we can link that.
Yeah, she's better than us.
Yeah,
So.
she knows. We got our links from her actually. So yeah, we'll
You
use
can
her.
also contact your local child protective services and ask, what therapists they use for if you know someone who is recovering from that. Because I have dealt with children in the system who have unfortunately gone through these terrible and horrible things. And it was the state who set them up with their therapist. So you can actually reach out to them and ask for their list of, mental health experts and therapists and psychologists that they use to help the victims that come into their care.
You do
Oh,
know
I read that
that
question
if it-
wrong. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Do know that if a therapist doesn't work for you, try another one. Try another one until you find a therapist that is right for you.
Good advice.
Believe me, I would know.
Good advice. I'm
That's
sorry,
why
I read the question wrong. I really did. Sorry there, guys.
Oh, I do know one that I do like. I just remembered what it's called. It's the Bikers Against Child Abuse International. They're
those guys
amazing.
are
They
cool.
are bikers. Yeah, those guys are really cool and will beat somebody up. So, and
They'll
make them
go
mysteriously
support with the
disappear
children.
under
Sorry.
circumstances. So support bikers. That's all I'm saying. So,
And the thing about them, once you're part of their list of victims, they stay with you even once you've become an adult.
Interesting. Interesting.
I've heard accounts from victims who've gone, you can join them and they'll still check in on you, make sure you're okay.
Are those all the questions?
So what I was trying.
Let's see. Pause.
long request, but yeah, that's all the questions.
I think Ginger was trying to say something.
Sorry, Ginger.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So back to the whole
Ginger.
if you don't vibe with the first one, look for another. That's why I had suggested the list. Get the list of therapists because they use more than one.
Which is true. I just wanted to make sure that it was pointed out because I've had that problem where a therapist hasn't worked for me. And sometimes people just don't want to go through that process of vetting therapists. It happens. I had to try a few before I found somebody that I was 100% comfortable with. Okay, I'm done talking. Anyone else?
Are there any other questions?
I got a song request. If not, I will sing. Speak now, forever hold your peace. You better speak now.
I would like to say hello to someone special who has been watching the stream. I invited them this morning. Hello, Kami, my little gremlin. How are you? Feral fuck.
Can I say hi to my sister?
Yeah.
She reacted. What's up, bitch?
Free.
I'm gonna say hi.
Yeah, that's Kami for you.
I'm gonna say hi to my sister. She's most likely watching this stream right now. Hi, for Shizzle.
Also, if you haven't heard it today, Kami, you are fucking adorable. You feral fuck. And we talk to each other like that on the regular. That's just the beauty of our friendship.
Yeah.
She is a feral little troll and I love her dearly.
Oh, actually. Does anyone on stream, like us chit-chatters, have questions for each other? That might be a good one. I don't have any questions because I'm dumb, but...
That would be good. Oh, she's denying it. She is denying it.
I'm open to some questions.
Mommy, you fuck, you are adorable. Precious. I would die for you.
Don't have any questions?
I'll fight you too. I will fight you. Sorry.
I'm gonna put Billy in timeout. I'm putting you in the timeout corner, Argentum. She can no longer speak. She's in timeout.
Wow.
I was just kidding.
Bring them back.
Okay, I'm getting nagged at to do the song request. Okay, everyone ready? I want to change the world, 風をかけなくて、何もすれずに、今を行きと、笑顔のかけ。
I mean, I've heard worse.
Change my mind. 情熱絶やさずに、かけなる未来へ。手を伸ばせば、輝けるはず。
If anyone wants to hear somebody
Wonderland.
who actually can sing, I can.
Do I need to pull up a song too?
This is what you're gonna get. No one. I can't. What do you mean? I can sing. I am a beautiful singer. If you do not like the sound of my voice, that is a you problem. Any other song requests?
Shall I demonstrate?
Because that's all I remember.
I just wasted
Heck.
10 seconds of your life. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
Let me see.
Y'all really want me to just sing Inuyasha songs? What the heck? My lyrics.
Wait, sing me that song when Kikyo dies. Like when Naraku technically kills her. She falls into
That would
the
be
river.
Dearest.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, it's not
DC Talk My Will. Is this the correct one? I don't even remember what My Will sounds like. So we're just gonna have to roll with it. Yeah, the live stream's still going on. Let's see. Soto mezumeru, hakenai omoi to, donna toki demo negau yo, anata ni todoku yo ni to, ato sukoshi to yukyori ga fumidasu nakute, itsumo me no mae wa toza. I don't even fucking
So
sing.
I saw a request for Reliant K, and
Well, you
I
ain't
would
even
like to
singing.
tackle this one. Let's look up. Let me just look up the lyrics to my favorite Reliant K song. Hang on, and I think you guys are really gonna love this because, and yes, they actually did this song. We are the pirates who don't do anything. We just stay at home and lie around. And if you ask us to do anything, we'll just tell you we don't do anything. Well, I've never been to Greenland, and I've never been to Denver, and I've never buried treasure in St. Louis or St. Paul, and I've never been to Moscow, and I've never been to Tampa, and I've never been to Boston in the fall. And that's it. That's all I'm singing about that long song.
Fantastic. Oh, are we doing sea shanties? Let's go. What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, early in the morning. Anybody?
See, like, leave her Johnny Lear, you know. I thought I heard the old man say, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For tomorrow you will get your pay, and it's time for us to leave her. You know, that one. Okay, look, I was trained in opera. I'm sorry.
I just sing once in a while. And if I'm gonna do it, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna leave you and desert you. I'm gonna troll your ass with my singing voice. Deal with it.
Wait.
Oh wait, guys, let's sing the Wellerman song. Does everyone know that?
No,
it
I
works
don't.
best.
No, I don't.
Wait. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. Surely you've heard of it.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't like it.
I have heard of it, but I do not know the lyrics. Find me the lyrics. I'll help.
Frost Queen's yelling at me. Why are you yelling at me in chat, Frost Queen? Also, Switchy Fish. Who's too good?
Yes,
Frost Queen's
please
yelling
tell
at
us, Switchy Fish. Who is it? Probably
What?
Ginger.
It's me.
What?
It's me. I'm sorry. Amazing.
I
Heck
came
it
in
is,
at
Zing.
the wrong time. I see.
Oh, we have a legit question further up. Is this stream going to be a regular thing? I don't know.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Likely not.
It
Eventually.
depends. Maybe. Maybe. The first one had 1,200 views. This one, I mean, it's not dependent on views either. It's really dependent on if we have time to do this for free.
I mean, fuck, I don't have a life. You can
Well-
ask Kami, I don't.
I will be busy for the next 6 weeks. Not available on Sundays. Next 5 weeks. 6 weeks, yeah. Not available on Sundays. So, well, not available weekends, period. So if we choose to keep it at the same time, it won't be with me, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Yeah, somebody else would just have to lead
Putting
it. Probably me.
Yeah.
Probably Twee. Twee's
Yeah.
in charge of, like, everybody has this idea that Billy's in charge of the antis. It's Twee. It's Twee.
Why do people
It's
think I'm in
Tweet.
charge anyway? I'm like the equivalent of like the coffee girl. I always tell people, I'm like, no, it's not me.
And
I
the
promise.
daycare counselor. How
I
are
get-
all of you?
I get bullied by these people. Okay, these people bully me on a daily
Yeah, watch
basis.
this. I'm
Someone
gonna
save
put
me.
Billy
Oh,
out.
the last time I bullied you. I'm too weak. I can't bully anybody.
Hi, I'm the daycare
Yeah, see?
counselor.
See, I don't control anybody. And there's this misconception for some reason that I've brainwashed people. Now, if I could
Oh, man.
brainwash people, I would make them give me money. Me personally. I would try to get some financial success from it, but not do
But no.
this if I could brainwash people.
So, Billy, there was a comment.
So I got a comment from
Hold on. Well, hold on.
From Kami.
Ginger was
Whoa, 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 whoa!
No,
slow down,
slow
slow
down.
down. Let's
Ginger
go
was
one by
first.
one, please.
yes.
Okay.
I'm
Ginger
sorry, I
was
thought
first.
that was for Billy because Billy just said I'm the equivalent of the coffee girl, and then Okami girl just said 1 cream, 3 sugars.
That's not the one.
No, I'm just playing.
He was literally
ma'am.
yelling at me about
madam.
my art.
Yes, madam.
And shut up, Kami. No, I do not.
Okay. Are there any other questions in chat? You can direct them at anyone who is currently a speaker, or you can also do fandom questions. Perhaps you want to know different fandoms that may or may not have problematic aspects. And I think we're said that are we ending after this, or are we continuing with the last two speakers?
We're going to continue with the last two speakers because
Okay,
I'm
because
not sure.
the 15 minutes are going to be up in a little bit. So
Is that okay with everyone involved if we continue on through it?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
fine with
Yes.
it. I'm just going to get another coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'd rather
But,
finish it up now and have just
I
one
just
or
gotta-
two segments of this and call it a day.
Yeah, the most person I'm worried about is Lorna because she's in Europe.
Yeah, so, and Lorna,
Oh,
you've done
that's
your
very
piece,
sweet of you.
right?
Yeah, but I still need to. I mean, if we're doing the harassment bit, I've got 2 people I'm speaking for. If we're not doing it, then yeah, I'm free, I suppose.
We need to hurry up, basically.
There are two questions, and I'm going to ask that we're going to end it after those 2 questions, and then move forth with the remainder of the stream. So I will be asking that everybody mute. However, I'd like to ask the 2 questionnaires: are you directing these questions at particular streamers or Justin in general? If it is Justin in general, we'll be going down through the stream list. And each speaker, please just say which question, both questions, give both answers, and then just move on. So if everybody could return to the previous format of meeting in between, that would be great.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Given that it is in general questions, we will start with Ginger. Please answer both, and we will continue from there.
What? So, will we be doing a stream on the minor coded issue? I'm not sure what that is. I think I would need a little bit more information just because my brain is blanking on what that is. For what would you do if a problematic ship is diverse? We would still comment on the fact that it is a problematic ship, or at least I most certainly would. Diversity doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. Technically, one could even issue that Sessrin is a diverse ship because you have people of two completely different, I don't know if race would be the correct term, but species, most certainly, it's technically a diverse ship. They are not the same. And, that's in many aspects, but as far as what they are in general, human and not human, it's a diverse ship, but it's severely problematic. That could be argued, because, again, diversity doesn't matter. It is problematic. If it's problematic at its core, then it, even if it was diverse. And I would speak out against it. Probably not as vitriolic as I have with Sessrin, unless it is, once again, in children's media. Because that's the big problem for me is that it's in children's media. When it really should not be. And those are my answers.
Okay, let's move on to Grandmaster G, since you are next in the stream lineup. What would your answers be?
Wait, can you repeat the question? I was
the two questions are will you be doing let's skip will we be doing a stream on minor coded issues, as this is more or less a question via all of us, so this would be something we would have to discuss in a later date. So would you please answer, what would you do if a problematic ship is diverse?
It's still problematic then. Doesn't matter. If it's diverse, then people usually try to find an excuse to let it go by, and that's a big no. Honestly, it's like I've seen stories and heard them, whatever, like a person does a bad thing, but if they're in, let's say, a marginalized group, they will use that excuse to try to get a free pass on the terrible action. And most people are like, oh, okay, you can kill an orphan, they could kill an orphan, and don't you see, I've been through so much, cause I've been discriminated because I was this sort of oppressed race and homosexual, and it's like, oh, you poor sweet baby, it's okay, you didn't mean it, and it doesn't matter, your kneecap will still be gone because you did such a terrible thing. So yeah, doesn't matter if it's problematic or terrible, it doesn't matter, it's still terrible.
Okay, and we will be moving to Vox Volpina for her answer.
I'm just gonna agree with what was said before me, because like you guys said, diversity doesn't erase the fact that a ship is problematic. So yeah, I'm just gonna agree with you guys. Sorry if my answer is short.
Okay, and now we're going to move to Zing Store, and then it will be me, and then Lordy Marin.
To the minor coded issue, I think I know what that is, which is it's a child, but it's 1,000 years old. I have no idea if we'll be doing a stream on that ever. Who knows? Who knows if we're even going to have a stream after this? And what would you do if a problematic ship is diverse? Diversity win. Your ship is problematic. Yeah. Yeah, just acknowledge it's problematic, bro. Just vibe with it. Cool. All right. Go, Twee.
In regards to the minor coded issue, I feel that that's a bit too broad of a subject, and we have to bring up the fact that there are youth coded races, such as certain variants of elves. You have the race in Final Fantasy XIV, despite the fact that they do grow facial hair and that they can have, I think some of them have age lines, but I feel that that's too broad of a subject unless it's done in the form of such as Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, in which someone is going to be said to be an adult, but it's just a drawn like young girl character with just gigantic badongas. I feel like in general it's just too broad of a subject. In regards to the other question, just because you are a diverse person, even if you are a minority or you are an oppressed group, your ship, if it's problematic, it is problematic. However, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. There are plenty of problematic ships, as said by Zingstar earlier on. We all have ships that are problematic that we ship that are different variations of problematic, but we don't go around declaring this to be healthy. One of my favorite relationships ever was a complete and total crack ship between Ursula's alter ego Vanessa and Gaston of Beauty and the Beast. I have shipped this since I was like 10, and I just love the concept because as a character, Gaston would not have cared. By relation, Ursula would be a minority coded race because she is of an octopus variant of a mermaid, and is shown as the only one besides the second movie in which her sister appears. So despite the fact that, you know, these people would be that Ursula would be a minority coded character because she's shown as pretty much the only one of her race, it doesn't change the fact that her relationship with anybody would be seen as extremely toxic. So that will be my answer, and I believe the next person is Lordy Maru.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip the minor coded thingy and about the problematic ship. I'm gonna have to agree with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's diverse. Sorry, it is problematic, and that's all.
Okay, I think we'll be according to General, I believe that we are continuing with the previous program. So we'll be moving on to Lordy Maru's section and then doing closing comments with both harassment legality with Ginger, and then closing comments with Billy. So if you could go ahead, Lordy Maru.
Right, so I don't know if you guys remember or are aware of an essay written by an user that goes by the name of Bakusaiga. And the piece is called Sesshomaru and Rin Inuyasha's Healthiest Dynamic. And the case for Sessrin platonically and romantically. The whole thing goes on and on about the episodes where they first meet and the rest of their appearances throughout the series. And also this person is dissecting every little thing from their interactions. So I'm gonna tell you, the whole thing is quite a piece of work. I'm almost got lost track of my eyebrows for raising them too much. And it came to the point that I found myself countering their work. At some point, I'm gonna share with you the links, and I would appreciate if the mods could share it in chat. So anyways, As I read, I was there thinking, okay, so what led you to sit down and write a whole arse essay about two fictional characters and the way their relationship is viewed, also within the fandom? So, what was your reasoning? And also, what was mine for forcing myself to read throughout the entire thing and then daring to spit on it? Like, what was my freaking motive for submitting myself to such a dreadful read? Now, I'm gonna ask you, Tim, like, what led you to be part of this podcast? You don't have to answer me, though. Let me tell you that I see what moved you guys, and I know that we're having fun, but in the fun, there is also a sense of seriousness. While we actually do research and learn as we go, and understand that we're here because we believe in our cause. Also, to the people who have tuned in today with us, why are you here? This goes both to the people who support the podcast and want to be part of this whole experience, and also to those who are simply here to be nosy and then mock us at some way. So, do you guys see where I'm trying to get at? There's always a motive to everything we do, especially online. So, what is the drive for actions while being online? Okay, so I'd like to continue with making another set of questions. You can either answer in chat or answer to yourself while you scratch your belly. Doesn't matter. Have you ever been victimized by someone online? If the answer is no, then please take a deep breath. I'm lighting up a candle so that it continues that way. If the answer is yes, I have another question. Was the bully someone you knew? If yes, then please chop them up out of your life. I know it's easier said than done. If the answer to that question was no, I want you to ask yourself how you ended up in that situation. Like, just really ponder it. This is not about blame, and this is all about what drives a complete stranger online to come after us over a completely fictional matter. Therefore, let's address what happens when our drives are completely hostile. For example, I was talking the other day with a person I met on Twitter. So let's call her Red, so we can respect her anonymity. Who happens to be involved in the Inuyasha fandom, and she was kind enough to share her story with me. She told me she was having a discussion with her reason on Facebook, and after the whole ordeal, went to vent on her personal Twitter. She basically accused those who praise the ship of being pedophiles and to please stay away from the Inu fam. So months later, she created this Twitter she's using and argues with a Brazilian woman who was harassing a bunch of people on the Yashahime's Twitter. She said this person exposed her to all of her friends, called her xenophobic because she badmouthed her own country. And the funny thing is that this woman was completely oblivious of the fact that she was attacking a pack of strangers online. So a few days later, a shipper decides to pseudo-expose Red on Facebook group and saying that Red was attacking Yashahime's Twitter team and also was accused of owning several fake accounts on Twitter. So the awful part came after that, because by that point, everybody had discovered Red's real identity. And thankfully, many people were on Red's side, but she also was feeling extremely attacked because she had just started taking medication for anxiety and depression, so everything collided. Long story short, my friend Red ended up in the hospital. And the whole circus didn't stay in Facebook. They brought their tortures to Twitter and threatened her with actual persecution because Red was implying anyone who ships Sessrin is a pedophile. Not only that, but her professional life was also affected because they went as far as to reply to Red's clients in her personal account. So then I asked her, so do you think you deserve this? And she says, and I quote, "Of course not. I never attacked anyone but a 2D character. I'm a 30-year-old woman arguing with another 30-year-old woman about fiction. I confess that I started to feel a little bit stupid. And when this sessrin replied to my client, I was ashamed. Not because I was wrong, but because it was absurd. So I asked her, what do you think led them to be so insistent with you?" And she replied, saying, perhaps it's the fact that she couldn't be silenced. She also mentioned that perhaps they think that by harassing us, they will silence us. And Red says, maybe makes no sense to me that they put all this effort because of a pixel. Red ended up lawyering up due to the targeted harassment from a very obsessive and complete stranger. Needless to say that the lawyer did find this complete stranger. And the thing is, she's absolutely right. It's an absurd thing that complete strangers feel entitled to come after another stranger to a point where they become invasive. In Red's case, it's because she voiced her opinion out loud. And what happened? People didn't like it. The rotten part of the fandom was not having it and pretty much tried to bully her so that she would shut up. And like this, there's many examples, like the case of a voice actor, Kamiya Hiroshi, being harassed by fans because a magazine revealed a picture of him carrying a child, and said child turned out to be his kid. And then he later apologized to his fans, like, why would you do that, bro? Like, why? Why do you feel the need to apologize to people who are so angry that you have a family of your own, and in fact, they should be supportive to you and nothing but happy? And the only thing I could possibly think of is that it affects the way they perceive the characters he lends his voice to. So I'm gonna put it like this. He voices Levi Ackerman. That should give you a clue. The kind of fans the character has, almost borderlines in Tornado meets Earthquake, kinda toxic. I'm a big fan myself though. But I have no business spending time of my day attempting to make someone I don't even know, and we probably never meet, feel miserable for doing nothing but be good in their life. Like, disclaimer, I know not all Levi fans are like this. Like, trust me, I know. So I started to wonder, what are the major reasons? What is the motive? What leads people to be this hostile over something that is not even real to begin with? And so I came across 8 points. And I am basing myself from this article I read on cyberbullying. So let me share this with you real quick. Number 1, they lack empathy. Some of the people we've dealt with show little to no concern for the people thereafter because they believe it isn't such a big deal. What can I do to you if it's only words? As a matter of fact, you can do great harm without realizing it, and you'll be carrying with that for the rest of your life. Actually, we can apply this point to the anons some of us have received on Tumblr. Their insistence and towards complete strangers while asking them to end with their lives. Like, that's kind of sick. Number 2, it's all about revenge. Okay, so how far do you have to go for a fictional character that you will be this garbage? I think we can push in here the doxing part. And it amazes me to the lengths these people will go just for the sake of saying I am right and you aren't. So artists and writers taking, for example, Towa and Setsuna to make them part of an AU, part of memes even. Most of the hostile online users take it out on said artists and writers in the most despicable manner. Number 3, they blame the victim. Does not go that far for this one, and I think also SingStor mentioned something similar. Let's talk about sexual harassment. The typical, well, she shouldn't be dressing like that in the first place, or what was she doing alone at night? Let's now take that concept and shove it into the fandom. You shouldn't have talked about my ship like that in the first place. I believe that there was also a CSA victim who spoke on about what happened to them. And there was actually reasons coming for that person and accusing them of being liars and also telling them, well, you deserved it. And why would they do that? Because they didn't support Sessrin, pretty much. Number 4, they are bored. You are bored and look for entertainment, basically. But I don't understand how you would find pure joy in tormenting someone you've never met. That's actually pretty sick. And if it's fun entertainment for you, by all means, please do us all a favor and get some help. Number 5, you cave under pressure. It might be a little cliche, but if you want to be part of something, you have to go in as well in order to be accepted. Sounds kind of silly, actually. Number 6, everyone is doing it. Okay, so this is basically ganging up on someone, and in their minds, it doesn't seem like a significant problem because their peer group accepts this behavior. What's more, they bully others to fit in with a group that regularly harasses people online. For example, how many times have any of us have jumped into a thread to defend a friend? I've done so before. I know my team has done it as well. Most of us have. A whole group of people attempting to single out a user is the same as having a group of bullies shoving someone into a corner to torment them. If my buddies are doing it, why shouldn't I? That's pretty much the whole rationale for it. The number 7 would be power hungry. This is something that's incredibly common in Twitter, where big accounts would much rather go after someone with little followers rather than trying to square up against someone who pretty much outnumbers them. And this goes hand in hand with point number 6. And you know what? Twitter has little to no tolerance over harassment, and literally Instagram says something like, it is never okay to attack someone on the basis of their race, ethnicity, sexuality, or gender. The ironic part is that great part of this hostile behavior occurs in these platforms. And number 8, they believe they can get away with it. So the anonymity of the internet gives these people a false sense of security, so to speak. They believe if they post anonymously, they won't get caught. What's more, people who cyberbully do not necessarily see the reaction of the victim, which makes it extremely easy to say and do things they would do otherwise, like in person. In fact, a significant number of people who do not bully face to face will still engage in cyberbullying. If you think about it, they have 2 faces. So, at the end of the day, part of the reason why we're all here talking is because fiction has a power over reality. It's powerful enough to self-insert. It's powerful enough to depict problematic situations and normalize them. It bends in such a way that there's people out there who feel entitled to hurt someone they don't even know. It's the same fiction, the one that lets people online to find a motive and act on it. So I'd like to finish my piece by saying, if you guys ever find yourselves backed into a corner, if you ever experience these kind of things or situations, I suggest please come forward. I know it's difficult, but do please speak up. Do not stay silent. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm pretty sure we're all ears. We might not be able to fix it with a magic wand, but we can listen to you, and most importantly, you have to know that you're not alone. And that will be all for me. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you so much for the wonderful words. We'll be moving to Billy, and then we will be moving into our last 2 segments. We will be doing guest speakers, and then ending on Ginger's legal harassment legality. So, if you could start, Billy.
Let's go ahead and just jump into the next segment. We can skip me because I know we're running short on time. We can go ahead and just go into the next one.
Okay, we will start with Eternal and go from there. All right, Eternal, go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Eternal. That's the name I go by. My full name on the platforms is Eternal Passions. I'm a relatively new member of the Inuyasha fandom. I barely got into it around February or March of this year. So it was really interesting, getting into the fandom and learning about the characters, and then learning about Sessrin and the controversy. And yeah, and I just opened up my blog for Anons recently, and I've been fortunate enough not to receive a ton of harassment like other people have, but I have received some not so nice things on Anon. As soon as I opened Anon, I got some comments telling me that that I should stop being like, sorry for the language, I should stop being a shit and then posting my posts on the tag. But I wasn't even using the sessrin tag. I was using anti-sessrin. So I think personally, I think that's a way that they try to control what antis do, a way to control how we express our opinions and stuff by trying to get us to use different tags or stop posting our opinions. So those I got around like two hate animals with that kind of language and then telling me that. And my experience has also been I have a post here where I briefly summarize what I've gone through in my short time here. Oh yeah. And then I got into some debates with Cesarins on Twitter. And just for expressing that I don't like the ship and why I don't like it, I got mass flagged on Twitter when I'm an unproblematic account. I don't get into debates or I don't get into arguments with people, or I try not to, or if I do, I try to be civil. So they mass flagged my Twitter just for saying why I don't like the ship. And yes, and then I got banned for about 8 hours. So I guess it's not as bad as other people have, but but yeah, it was surprising. It was an interesting experience. And another experience I've had with harassment was that I found out on a blog that that is dedicated to taking screenshots of anti posts and mocking them. I found out that my blog was featured on that one, and I check every now and then just to see like what kind of craziness goes on in that blog. And then so I've noticed that recently that blog hasn't really been like scratching out the names. So I just find this really like mean spirited because they're not even bothering to like at least like if you're gonna mock people, then at least take out the names so then people won't come after them. So, and also I find it interesting that this blog says that antis just harass people and send death threats and everything, but without really providing proof, but also when their blog is dedicated to basically doing that, taking screenshots of people's posts that they put lots of thought into and their opinions, and then just mocking them and stalking their blogs. Yeah. And then another experience with harassment I've had, it's not that bad, I guess. It's kind of funny, but it's that I was accused of being idolizer.
On several occasions, by the way. On several occasions.
On several occasions. And idolizer even sent me like some funny screenshots of what they've been saying. And so I don't know, it was kind of funny because I'm like, just because we both like are vocal against Sessrin doesn't mean that we're the same person. We talk differently and stuff, and I speak Spanish. And then
yes,
so
you speak Spanish. I don't
I
speak Spanish. I wish I did, but I don't. I wish I did though. Beautiful language.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been interesting speaking Spanish because like it helps me because I've gotten into all these debates with people and then they spam my Twitter and then I'm at work and I'm like, oh my gosh, just leave me alone. So yeah, so I get accused of being idolizer, and then so it makes me wonder like they've tried to tell idolizer like, are they a white guy? And then I'm like, so does that mean they think I'm a white guy too?
Only white guys are opposed to their ship. We have to remember that.
Yeah.
Only white guys.
Yeah, only white guys. Like, yeah, stupidity. But yeah, my post basically says that that's basically the harassment I've gotten like within the first few months of joining this fandom. It's not too bad. I know other people have gotten worse, but yeah, I just think it's interesting to tell. And also something else, I'm not sure if it would be considered direct harassment, but I would like to consider it. Like, I even made a post joking about this, that I would like to say it's sexual harassment almost, because I've seen posts that say sorry for this might be triggering to hear, but it says Sesshomaru rearranged Rin's guts with his massive and there's nothing you can do about it. So that was very disturbing. Yeah, that was very disturbing, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. So they just
we have proof of that one on the blog as well. We have proof of that one.
Massive yikes.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive ass yikes. Big ass yikes. Continue.
Yeah, so I would sort of almost count that as harassment too, because they just go out of their way to make people feel uncomfortable and bothered, and that's kind of like the equivalent of being like flashed by a dude. It's like you don't want to see that. Like, yeah, it's very uncomfortable. And also another thing, when I was debating with the sessrin and they couldn't really say anything else about my points and stuff, then I just ended up like I didn't want to engage with them anymore. So I would just send them a meme that says pedophilia is my passion. So then what they did was answer me yes, and she loved every minute of it. I love it. So yeah, that was pretty like disturbing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, so it's pretty disgusting and weird. And then yeah, I just
Sick
found it
motherfuckers.
yeah, they're just sick. It's just sick. And then another thing about I found this idolizer sent me this, like the screenshots, and then I found it interesting that one of them said that, oh, Sesshomaru would use his poison claws on her. And then I was like, that's really immature, but also it's kind of like there's no words. Ridiculous.
Cringe. Super cringe.
Yeah.
We'll call it
It's
super cringe.
Super cringe.
Super cringe.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And one last thing I'll mention is there's this blog I follow, like a Kikyo fan blog, and they don't really engage with all the shipping stuff and the discussions and stuff, but someone asked them on Anon, like, what do you think of sessrin? And they said, I don't really like it because it's the normalization and romanticization of pedophilia, and I just don't like how it was depicted and how she was so young when it happened. Like, just stating their opinion of why they don't like it. And they got Anons, like, blocks of text telling them, why are you talking out of your ass if you don't know anything? Like, shut up. And basically all that rude stuff just for expressing their opinion, and Anons trying to shut down their opinion. So it's just interesting, like, once you turn on the Anon, and then when you express you don't like the ship, when you dare to not like that ship, then like the things that they send you. So I just thought that was really like wow, overreaching. Yeah. But yeah, if we ever do another live stream, then I'll be sure to tell you guys of more things I encounter from sessrin, more harassment. But thank you for having me as a guest.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Let's move to our last guest.
Thank you, babe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last guest speaker, and then we will end on Ginger's bit.
Okie dokie, hello. Boy, do I have stuff for y'all. So, over the course of this Yashahime mess, I have been harassed by at least 7 different people. 7! Just because I said I did not like this pedo-pushing bullshit. I'm not kidding. And one of them was actually very ableist. Oops. So I may have gotten carded for language. My apologies. Billy, let me live! Moving on. At least one of these comments, and I'll read this one aloud, it was about the very end of season 1. And it was the most ableist comment I have ever gotten. Because, okay, I'll be honest, I will go into it, Billy. I literally just said I would read it out. Starting to sound like my mom now. But, I'll be honest. I have what is now called autism spectrum disorder. And what the comment said regarding the... Let me just read it. Who's going to tell them that Tenseiga has the power to revive the dead, and Toa can use broken swords? I guess figuring out things that are implied rather than stated requires too much thinking for you. Just go back to watching Blue's Clues, which is more appropriate with your mental capacity. Think about that real quick. My mental capacity. Do you know how many times I have heard that over the course of my 24 years? Holy shit. Sorry for the language, but holy shit. First of all, they mentioned a children's show to an example of what my capacity would be. As if all people with disabilities are the same and have a low comprehension. That is not true at all. I'm actually one of the people who is more high functioning. My sister, on the other hand, she is not. Hers is more severe than mine. She likes this kind of stuff, like children's shows, but that girl is smart. And she knows it. And we're not all the same. We aren't. At all. And it makes me mad because everybody does this. We're put into a square hole. I mean, a circle, when we're actually squares or stars. Like those little children's toys. No person with autism or any other disability, we're not all the same. We all have different needs, different interests, and we're completely discriminated against and mocked. I can go into multiple examples with both my sister and I, but she's not here to speak for herself, nor can she. And that's just the ableist comment. I've gotten more regarding, like, the historical accuracy and other things that were already covered in the stream by everybody else. And they're all lovely, by the way. Thank you for letting me come on. But that was the one that bothered me the most. I was very close to throwing my iPad out the window. And harassment like this has been going on for months, but this is the one that got me the most. Because of the very personal attack. Even if they didn't know it was a personal attack. In fact, they vague posted later, "Let me go get it." Dear Yashahime haters, admitting you can't read subtexts and allusions within a narrative is not the sick burn you think it is. Same person. Who do you think they were talking about? Me! And boy, was I grateful when Billy actually spoke up for me and said something on her blog. Billy, I cannot thank you enough for that. That was one of the sweetest things that anyone has ever done for me. That's why I wanted to come on the stream today. That's why I wanted to be a part of this, because of how absolutely wonderful and kind you are, and you're absolutely inspiring. I mean, I know Twee is technically the anti-leader, but you say a lot for all of us, and thank you. Uh-oh. Sounds like the audio's going out again. Oh, apparently not. But, I mean, the sheer amount of stuff I've gotten, I can even read out a couple of more. I mean, I have been called a clown, but I've been in denial, history accuracy bullshit. Sorry, Billy. Let's see. Oh, boy. Denying the timeline, which is clearly stated. And this whole debacle has pissed me off. And how frequently it happens. None of this I have gotten on Tumblr, but I have gotten a hell of a lot of it on YouTube. Most of these comments are on YouTube. The only Tumblr one was actually it was the ableist one. The only one that was on Tumblr was the ableist one. Words formed into sentences to convey meaning. But yeah, I mean, I even got one of these bullshit comments on my birthday. I got that one too, because I screenshotted every single one. Both my best friend Kami, who I've mentioned multiple times in the stream, and I have copies of everything I've gotten. Let's see. Oh, wait, I think I did maybe read that one out. Oh yeah, there it is. I did read it out. Rin is the mother, you're in denial, but that's okay, with a little laughing emoji. That was on my birthday. Just pure rage I have felt over these past few months. I get one of these stupid comments on this one YouTube video of scenes with Sesshomaru in it at least twice a month, maybe. Pure insanity. How are so many people so invested in lying and defending this disgusting ship? I mean, come on. Ren was 8 when they met. Maybe if we do another stream like this again, maybe if they let me join, I'd be very happy to. But we're starting to run out of time. I'm going to let the next person go. Ginger, take it away.
Okay, we'll be moving on to Ginger, and then it will be closing comments, and then we'll be ending stream.
Well, there were a couple people who were going to go after me. But I do apologize, everybody. I do have to get going. But what I'm going to cover is online harassment consequences in real life and the legality of it. Because you've heard a couple testimonials, but I want to make it clear that some of the targeted harassment that is going on, it's not just, a sticks and stones will break my bones thing. It's actually a crime, and it can have devastating consequences as well. So I will start with going over a very recent event and noted example of online harassment of an artist that led to the artist attempting to take their own life. And a lot of the targeted harassment will likely sound familiar to what our guest speakers have talked about or what they will talk about, and some of the issues going on for artists who speak out against sessrin. Daily Dot confirms that an artist named Zami attempted to take her own life after angry fans of Steven Universe started creating multiple social media accounts to target her with death threats, false accusations of transphobia, homophobia, racism, apologism, and more after she posted a picture of a character named Rose Quartz with what appeared to be a thin body frame, because Rose Quartz was plus size. Every piece of her work was a target for more harassment, more messages, and several people even told her to die or end her own life, and that is exactly what she attempted to do. And then there's the infamous case of Miss Todd, who made a video that went viral after her self-termination back in 2012. After moving, she turned to the internet to try and make friends, and was subsequently groomed and then blackmailed into further abuse. Then her blackmailer made this incriminating evidence public, anonymously, which led to her being bullied and harassed in her everyday life. Sorry, I'm having headset issues. The pain was too much for the very young Miss Todd, and so she ended her own life. I speak of these examples because there are several artists that have experienced such disparagement and even been told to end their own life just for drawing things people disagree with in fan art. And for anyone tuning in, we want everyone to be aware that words can absolutely damage a person and lead to dire consequences. Now, moving on from Miss Todd, I would like to explain that this kind of online harassment is indeed illegal and prosecutable. Privacy Rights Clearinghouse gives a clear definition of what online harassment is. Online harassment may involve threatening or harassing emails, instant messages, or posting information online. It targets a specific person either by directly contacting them or disseminating their public information, causing them distress, fear, or anger. Cyberstalking is a type of online harassment that involves using electronic means to stalk a victim and generally refers to a pattern of threatening or malicious behavior. All states have anti-stalking laws, but the legal definitions vary. Some state laws require that the perpetrator make a credible threat of violence against the victim. Others require only that the stalker's conduct constitute an implied threat. Now, examples of cyberstalking are sending manipulative, threatening, lewd, or harassing emails from an assortment of email accounts, hacking into a victim's online accounts, such as banking or email and changing the victim's settings and passwords, creating false online accounts on social networking and dating sites, impersonating the victim, or attempting to establish contact with the victim by using a false persona. Now, this one I point out specifically because there was an account pretending to be Billy, trying to make Billy out to be like a Nazi and a racist. That is actually a crime. That is a cyberstalking crime, and it is prosecutable under the law. Posting messages to online bulletin boards and discussion groups with the victim's personal information, such as home address, phone number, or social security number. Posts may also be lewd or controversial, resulting in the victim receiving numerous emails, calls, or visits from people who read the post online. Signing up for numerous online mailing lists and services using a victim's name and email address. These actions are defined by law and are illegal. Make no mistake, your country and state can let you know what your own laws are with a quick Google search. And from criminaldefenselawyer.com, I will now go over some of the legal repercussions one can face and why a "I didn't mean it" defense just won't work. So, in addition to criminal charges, which is definitely one thing that can do, harassment can result in civil actions brought by the victim. A person who feels victimized by harassing behavior may seek a civil restraining order to prevent further harassment. Restraining orders frequently require that the respondent, or the person that is accused of harassment, do not have any contact, direct or indirect, with the person seeking protection. This order also typically requires that the respondent keep a minimum physical distance from the respondent at all times. Now, while restraining orders are often handled in court as a civil matter, violations of a civil restraining order can trigger more criminal charges, including felony charges, and can also result in lawsuits for civil damages. Now, defenses to harassment charges, such as like free speech or anything like that. First Amendment free speech principles, might aid a couple cases, but both federal and state constitutions, with that, the freedom is not absolute. Whether a particular communication constitutes free speech or crosses the line into criminal contact often turns on whether the communication is deemed to be for a legitimate purpose. For example, Alabama's harassment law states that the statute does not apply to telephone communications conducted for legal business purposes. So, a collection agency might make multiple calls. That's not harassment. But, if you are going out of your way to defame, threaten, and send graphic messages, that is harassment. Now, you might be able to say you can get away with it, that you were just bluffing with the threats and anything like that. It is generally not a defense that any lawyer would accept, or that a defendant not actually intend to follow through with the threat. It's not a good defense. And so, if you are a victim of these crimes, you can look up your local laws to know your rights and what you can do. But make no mistake, the online harassment given to these artists and to the people on Twitter and Tumblr, it is actually a crime. Thank you. That ends my segment. So I do apologize. I got to leave for now, but thank you all for having me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Because
Hi, Ginger.
yeah.
Have fun.
Have fun. All right. We're going to go straight into Lorna. Just going to jump straight into it.
Phew. Okay, guys, it's almost 2 a.m. where I am, so I'm a bit sleepy. I apologize, but I'm gonna get through this as fast as I can before I faint. I'm speaking today for 2 people in the fandom who have been subjected to appalling levels of abuse and harassment. I'm going to start with a fairly well-known fan artist. This fan artist ships Sesshomaru with Kagura and often depicts them as the parents of Toa and Setsuna. The harassment started when she began posting art of the twins as Sesskagu children, with Rin as their older sister. So you know the drill. A raisin swarm showed up on her Twitter, started slinging insults, accusing her of being a child kidnapper. This harassment then spread to the rest of the artist's social media, with people attacking her on Tumblr, Pixiv. They were still calling her a kidnapper, a sick person who steals other people's kids, a psycho, and so on and so on. Her username and art were circulated so widely that she had lolicons from the Chinese Yashahime community attacking her. I mean, she isn't even in the Chinese Yashahime community. And she later found them talking, crap about her openly on Twitter, calling her a toxic element, a troublemaker, and again, a child kidnapper. And these were people she had never heard of or ever interacted with before. So this harassment continued for weeks, to the point that the artist had to temporarily disable anonasks on Tumblr. And when she drew Rin as the twins' older sister, very clearly depicting her as a 13-year-old, she would get raisins commenting that Rin looks more like their mother than their sister, trying to twist her art into something disgusting. Then on Mother's Day, this artist posted another piece with Kagura as the twins' mother, and harassment spiked again. She actually got a number of anons telling her basically, to kill herself. Some of these messages, like for instance, she got "jump off a building, clown. Why don't you choke on some bleach, you stuck-up, jealous, see you next Tuesday. Toa and Setsuna are forever and always Rin's daughters. You try so effing hard. Birch, I feel sorry for you." I changed the words a little because, we're streaming. Now, raisins were claiming that they had a right to harass her because a couple of weeks previously, this artist commented that Sessrin fan art posted, the one that was posted by one of the Yashahime animators, saying, "It can't be, you're a lolicon, gross." This is the comment she made. Now, aside from the fact that one non-aggressive comment could never justify the harassment that she was put through, this comment was made 1 month after Lolicon started harassing her. It did not spark the harassment. Raisins just jumped on it to feel justified in their smear campaign. And this is also another massive difference between the Lolicon wing of the fandom and the anti-wing, because antis level criticism at the studio and staff who made the show. And I'm talking criticism, not insults and threats. Raisins, on the other hand, target individual content creators, and I myself was insulted and harassed for weeks after I made some cosplay TikToks criticizing Yashahime, and I got called stupid, ugly, useless, a loser, waste of space, and even a harasser for simply expressing my opinions without attacking anyone. But moving on to the second person, this Inuyasha fan is non-binary, and she was repeatedly dead-named on Twitter by a certain well-known raisin, who you could say has bricks for brains. Now, this is one of the many messages that the anti received. Hi, dead name. Stop appropriating terms created by and for trans people. Refusing, basically, to recognize that this anti is non-binary. Now, this raisin or someone connected to her went and dug up an old profile belonging to the anti, who has asked me to specify that it was an old account that they disabled last year, meaning the raisins involved either tracked it down when it was still active and for some reason sat on the screenshots for months, or they found a way to get into the account and they took photos and information from this account. And this well-known Lolicon I mentioned pinned the anti's photograph to her Twitter profile, dead-naming her on it to boot. And it stayed there, to my recollection, for weeks. And in fact, it could still be up there. I don't check Lolicon profiles, but it wouldn't surprise me. And now this is where things turn insane. Someone very likely connected to this raisin, the raisin who regularly dead names this anti, wrote to the anti's university chancellor and to their head of department, describing the anti as deranged and homophobic, attaching a screenshot of, a tweet that apparently really pissed raisins off. And this tweet read, I'm not going to say that sessrin is exclusively for hets, but I will say that I have never seen a sessriner in the LGBT plus community. The anti later added, since some sessriners want to take my tweet about sessrin being a shit for hets and twist it, let me clarify. The tweet said, I have never seen a sessriner in the LGBT plus community. It's my personal experience. So this was the tweet that had the raisins writing to this anti's university calling her deranged and homophobic. Now, the chancellor of the university checked the anti's Twitter profile and found no instance of inappropriate bullying behavior. But even so, the university actually received 2 more emails from persons unknown. And just the sheer lengths that these people went to. And for what? I mean, basically just to silence this anti, to make her too scared to speak out again. And by the way, I just want to add that both this anti and the artist I mentioned are constantly accused of faking their ethnicity and their names, and often called white weebs, even though both of them are Japanese. Like, I don't know, we're through the looking glass here. And I am done.
Wow.
Okay, I think
wow.
that was a lot.
Just wow. It's like we lived through it all in like real time, but then when you put it all together, it just gives you a sense of wow, how insane are these people? Like, these people are dedicated for fiction not to affect reality. I'll say that much. They are dedicated for fiction not to affect reality. It just doesn't seem that bad until you put it all together.
I swear to God.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Christ.
I swear to God, if they somehow come up with something after this stream and they're like, I saw the stream and they're just a bunch of dumb-dumbs.
Thanks, Lorna. By
I'm
the
gonna
way.
lose it, man.
Thanks,
No
Lorna.
problem.
Thank you
My
so much.
pleasure.
Sorry for keeping you up, and sorry
Oh,
for
no,
keeping you
no,
up.
I'm glad to.
Jeez. Leaves you speechless, really. Jeez.
Oh, honey, go to bed.
Yes, please go to bed.
Go to
Thank
bed.
you again for
Please, thank you.
speaking.
Oh, thank you, guys. All
Your
right,
segment
then.
was lovely, dear.
Thank
Sleep,
you.
sleep.
Thank you. Sleep,
Thank
sleep.
you, everyone. Thank you to our viewers. I'm just gonna go crash immediately. Bye,
Get some good
everyone.
sleep. Yes.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Okay, I think we'll be wrapping up here. I would just like to give a big shout out to the mods of the YouTube for being so diligent and answering what questions they could that didn't need to be brought to the speakers, and as well welcoming any new people coming into the stream itself. And another big thank you to all of our speakers for coming in and taking time out of their day, even though they had previous plans and such going on as well. And I think we'll do some closing words via Billy, and then we'll probably wrap up from there.
I'm still amazed. I'm sorry, I'm still in awe. I'll be quick, though. Just jumping back to hit on the harassment, because we know I've received my share of harassment. I just need to reiterate, I am not a white guy. I'm not a Puritan. What else do they, I am black. They deny my ethnicity. They try to make me a white guy again. I am a female. And I think that needs to be emphasized. Not the people against this ship are all a single race. There are good people all across the world that are against this ship for the reasons being contextualized in Yashahime. It's not a you're white so this, you're black so this. It's not a you vote this way so you're this, you vote that way, you're this. It's more or less about morality. And I just wanted to reiterate that what's always moral is not always popular. Sometimes what's immoral is popular. Not saying that sessrin is popular by any means, but just take that with you. Remember that at one time gold teeth were popular. And I'll just end on that note. Any thoughts, concerns, questions, or anything anybody else has?
I love all of you. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank everybody. Thanks the whole anti-community. You know what? We rarely get any positivity in this bullshit, but all of us antis, we deserve a nice big pat on the back for being surprisingly sane human beings.
Yes.
So thank all of you.
For dealing with them on a constant basis.
Like, we put up with so much bullshit and like weird rhetoric of just like weirdness, and it's just like, hey guys, the only argument should be, hey, we don't like the sexualization of children. Point blank, period. Thanks. And we get a lot of shit for it. So you know what? I love all of you. Thank everyone for tuning into this stream. Thank everybody in this stream. Thank all of our guest speakers. And I thank everybody in Discord, just everybody.
And thank the mods. Again, thank you so much, mods, for doing your job and making sure the chat is secure for everyone to express their opinions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, mods.
We're
We
done.
love you.
No questions?
We're done.
Okay, I think we can. Oh, did you have something to say?
Just that, our devil's advocate here. It may not help that you post a lot of.
Oh. Okay.
Hutty.
The Billy Idol pictures could confuse some people, but definitely
we have
Billy
the
Idol.
real Billy Idol.
The actual
real
Billy Idol
Excuse
is
all
on
of you. That is
screen.
not a black woman. That is, I don't care what you hear. It's just an impersonator. It's the real Billy Idol who's harassing you. I hired this black woman. She is my friend. Her
Yes.
actual name is
William Broth II. My actual name.
Edie.
All right. That's it.
Bye.
Bye, guys.